7:30, so we will start. The apologies and reasons for absence.
Borough Councillor Mick Burgess has a JTB meeting. PCSO Kate Richards is on the late or early, whatever. She's on
Day off,
on the day of rest day. And Community Warden Joe Boss is on holiday.
Thank you. Do any members have any interest pecuniary or other than pecuniary?
No.
No.
As per usual? No, so no applications. Sorry.
Other than, yes, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I do the
British Legion.
British Legion, you're right. Okay, so that's another than pecuniary. We won't throw you out in the cold. A reminder that this meeting is being recorded for publication, meaning that it goes on the internet. Okay, now before I open the public session, we've got, because we didn't have a meeting in August as usual, we've got a very long agenda, and therefore we need to try and keep on the point, all of us. I am imagining that the majority of you in the public seats are here because of the antisocial behaviour / criminal behaviour that's been going on up at the eastern end of the village. We haven't got a specific item on the agenda, but there are a couple that relate to it, as it were, so we will have the opportunity in the council meeting to have a discussion. What I'd like to say is that obviously you've come to have a say. There is a 4-minute rule, but even with a 4-minute rule it would take an hour for you all to do it. What I'd like is for you not please to kind of keep repeating the issue yourself, or feel free to support each other, that's fine, and if you've got spokesmen, fine, but at the same time I want to get on, because the plain fact is that the parish council has a very limited locus in this matter. We are working with other agencies and will continue to work with other agencies, but to be honest, the parish council is really pretty powerless when it comes to what we're talking about. We're very sympathetic, but what can we do? Not a great deal, but we will get to that. So with those preliminary points, is there someone who's going to take the lead on this, or are you all going to have a go? Cliff, you're going to.
Yeah, I would like to.
You're going to start off. Okay.
Yeah, I think I might have prompted this. I sent an email to Yvonne. I apologise. I think I said at the time if it comes over aggressive. But it was the first port of call. We were vandalised, basically. It was very stressful. It's still emotionally draining. It's absolutely awful. But I want to try and be constructive. The police have not been very helpful, but I can understand that. They've got limited resources. But I want to say special thanks to Yvonne because she actually managed to kick-start it for us because I didn't get anywhere. And also to thank all our neighbours, being also very supportive. Especially Keith and Debbie, that took part in the mammoth clean-up. There were hundreds of apples out, all up our wall, all up the driveway, all down the street to the antique shop. In addition to that, of course, we got damage. So, if I can move on, I want to cover what happened to the pub because it's not the first time. It happened between 1 o'clock and 3 in the morning. The noise, banging, normal bus shelter behaviour, unfortunately. We've got 2 German Shepherds, but neither of them responded. The next morning we came down and there was lots and lots of damage. There was mess everywhere. We've got smashed windows. We've got damage to the walls. We've got interior damage where stuff has come through. I've got a smashed windscreen on my vehicle. And basically the repair costs are over £2,000. We've just spent £5,000 having the building exterior overhauled in June, and now we've got considerable rendering to be redone, repainting, etc. I know we've got insurance, but they all have quite large excesses, and we know our premiums are going to go up again next year. But the worst thing about this is the ongoing stress. We still hear them over the bus shelter at night, sometimes about 11:30, sometimes 2, 3 in the morning, So it makes it very difficult to sleep, and you wonder when it's going to kick off next. Not doing my blood pressure, stress. But anyway, yeah, to move on, I think we need to be trying to be a bit more proactive about this and try and preempt further problems. The police tend to be reactive. 2 or 3 nights after the first attack, we heard it kicking off. We didn't know what was going to happen, so I dialed 999, and I was basically told unless I was being physically assaulted or there were more windows being smashed, there was nothing they could do, which is not very helpful really. It's not the first time, I know I've said it before, but I understand it's not just us that are suffering from these things at the moment. I have a few suggestions for solutions. Most of the damage were caused by apples off the tree behind the bus shelter. I would like to see that apple tree removed. It's been a problem over the years. Different sort of kids, teenagers that have moved into the village from time to time create havoc. Also planted a walnut tree. I know it's going to be 5 years before we get nuts on there, but we're directing the line of fire, and I could be here in 5 years' time if I live to 75, but that's another issue. Also, would like to see the bus shelter removed. This has come up before. It would not be the last time. It's the only one in the village. There is not one at the other end of the village. There's not one either end of the village on the Rye Road. I don't believe we need it. I know you've got a plaque in there for Edith L. Appletree, but I'm sure if she knew how that bus shelter was being used, she would encourage us to remove it as well. Oh dear.
It's actually 4 minutes.
Oh.
Would you like to sum up?
Well, I'll sum up. Basically, we've had lots of support. We would like to see, I know you can't do anything, you've said it, we would like your support. We think the police need to take more action. They say it's nothing to do with them, they say it's the council's problem. But if you read the Kentish Express and you've got the cuttings there, they are now putting patrols on the park in Ashford because of things unsocial behaviour. So with your encouragement, maybe we'll get something there. But I do think the bus shelter needs to go. You have removed stuff that's got memorial plaques on it before. There was a beautiful chalet on the village green that was vandalised, and that was taken down a few years ago when Barry Wright was chairman.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, Cliff. Thanks for that. Can I ask if someone else wants to add to that, but preferably adding rather than repeating?
The only thing I'd like to say is that all of us are lacking sleep,
yeah,
and that's a health problem as well as being a safety problem. And you know, most of us here are retired people. I don't need this in my retirement. I came to live in Wittersham for peace and quiet. I didn't expect it to be riotous city life. And yes, I'm all for the bus shelter to be removed, because that is 80% of the problem we've had over the years. We had this problem 19 years ago. We had them rioting more or less in the daytime, not alone at night. This has got to stop. It's all right, the parish council, and I understand you're quite powerless, but as a village, we've got to club together here and sort this problem out, one way or the other, i.e. write letters to all the parents of this village saying, if your child gets caught, you are responsible and you will be fined.
I'm all in favour of that. Okay, thank you, Trevor.
Okay.
Others? Hello, Elspeth.
I'd also like to say that, point out that it's really been affecting me as well very strongly, and it's absolutely frightened me actually hearing the terrible noises and language in the street, and also can't sleep very well at night.
Okay, thank you for that, Elspeth. Yes, Wendy.
I'd just like to say that we had the disturbance at 1 o'clock on Sunday morning, and the scooter I was watching...
That's the one just gone, is it? Sunday
just gone, yes. Yeah, 1 to 2 o'clock. There were 8 of them, and the scooter was in the bus shelter at one time. Also, Saturday evening about 9:30, the scooter went through the gates and went onto the Coronation Field. Yeah, it's just the disturbance is horrible. It's intimidating and it's frightening.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
Can I add one more thing?
Go on.
The police, the PDSOs have said,
PCSO. Yeah.
PCSO, sorry, that if we're going to do anything about this, anyone that has any disruption actually needs to phone it in and make it clear. Even if there's no damage, to actually say, oh, it kicked off last night. So
No,
somehow we need to get that word
I'm
around.
all in favour of that. You will have perhaps noticed, those of you who are on next door, that when there have been reports of criminal behaviour before, I've tended to reply to them saying, please make sure you put it on 101. Or on the website is now the recommendation, because it's even easier than ringing. And there will soon, I don't think there is yet, but there will soon be live chat. As it was put to me, us oldies don't tend to do live chat, but the suggestion from the woman who runs, well, she's number 2 in running the control centre in Maidstone, said live chat actually is efficient for them, but it's good for you or us, because although you have to type, you can put your bit in, they can handle many conversations at the same time, okay, and they can ask you, rather than just filling in the website and then they think, oh, I wish they'd told me, you know, whether they saw what he was wearing, or, you know, whether he was young or old, or, you know, whether he disappeared in this direction or that. They can say, oh, a bit, what about this? Have you got that? You know, it is a chat, but you're not on the phone. You don't have to wait for the 101. And then it doesn't take, if you do ring 101, you're bound to give them endless spiel, whereas you can actually put it in shortish lines. So they're very keen on that. That should be coming in any time soon. But before that, on the website, Google Kent Police, there's something right there, you know, report criminal behaviour or something. Click on there, off you go. That saves you ringing 101. If you do ring 101, you get through to the control room, but you have to wait behind the 999 calls.
Yeah.
And that's why you may be waiting for too long.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, and sorry, I should add the last thing, which supports what you just said, Cliff. The police and PCSOs keep saying to us, and I hear the Chief Inspector, who's in charge of Ashford and Folkestone, comes to the meetings at Ashford that I now chair, and they say, keep reporting it, keep reporting it, keep reporting it, because they count all these things up and they start devoting the resources. So I'm not saying that we'll suddenly get a squad car based in Wittersham, but the more is reported, the more they notice. Also the Rural Crime Squad, you know, that look after some of the other things that have been going on in Wittersham apart from your corner the last couple of weeks, they start taking a note as well.
Good.
So there's problems in other parts of the village, then, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just ask one question? Are you allowed to put on live chat if you know who's doing it? If you witness who's doing it, are you allowed to take over?
Well, I would assume you should be able to, because it should be secured by Kent Police. I mean, I'm speaking without direct knowledge.
I think that's part of the fear, that we know who's doing it, but we can't say.
Well, you do know who's doing it.
Yes.
Well, in that case, if you wish, what they always, I should say this, what they always do say, I mean, here again, I'm repeating what the Chief Inspector says, if you wish, report it to Crime Stoppers. Crime Stoppers has the full confidence of the police, and it is anonymous.
Because
You do not need to tell them who you
say
are.
who it is, because they'll just pick on us even more. If we know who it is and we report it as who it is, they'll just pick on us.
There was
but
also
with
an
Crime Stoppers, you don't have to say it's you.
Okay.
So, I mean, if you want to report a crime to Crime Stoppers, obviously you can say, look, I live in the area, or I live in whatever, but you do not have to say that you're whoever you are. You can just report it anonymously. And crime, the whole idea of Crime Stoppers, which is it's a charity, and it's supported, I think, with Home Office money, and it's used to be supported by one of the millionaires or billionaires, is that it provides confidence for reporting to the police. It's a I can't think of the right term, but it's it's a bit like whistleblowing, but you don't have to say who you are. Okay,
Because
so
that is
if
the
you
trouble with the imbalance.
I'm sorry?
Because that is the trouble with the imbalance. We're all, not all of us, but we're all quite old, and these are young ones.
Sure, no, and I understand that. And the fact is that, you know, we don't have immediate support in the countryside from police. So you don't want to put yourself at risk. And one of the things the police will also add is never put yourself at risk. They don't ask you to do that. They don't want you to go out and start remonstrating with them or telling them to pack it in or whatever.
All my neighbours don't go out.
No, indeed, absolutely.
The publican was murdered last week,
No, I saw
doing
it.
exactly the same.
I saw it,
thing.
yes. And Miriam, you were putting your hand up.
Yeah, I mean, I have been involved in this considerably with the police. I have made some progress with the police, I will say that much. But the point that Leslie says about the individuals being identified and the police not doing anything is an extremely valid point. This is exactly what is happening. The police are aware of who is doing this.
I'm sorry, did Leslie say she had told them who?
No.
No,
Leslie
I
said
was
she's
too scared.
fearful
No,
to
exactly. So they haven't
identify
been
the
told
individual. I'm saying that the police know who the individuals are. They are aware of the individuals. They have a record, but they're not doing anything because the level of evidence that is required is pretty onerous in order to get a conviction in court. So they actually need. There was an incident at the sports club maybe 3 years ago, and they came and did DNA samples. I knew exactly who had done it, and I gave the names to the police. But they couldn't go around there just on the basis of I'm saying who it is. About 6 months ago, I got a call from the police saying that there'd been a major incident in Tenterden, and the culprits had been caught, and their DNA had matched the DNA from the sports field. And I was immediately able to tell them exactly who that was and had been told them at the time of the incident, but they couldn't do anything. So the problem that we've got is that in the village there are individuals who have run round to the police, but the police are unable or unwilling because of lack of resources. And when I spoke to the officer when we had further vandalism down at the sports club when our goals were smashed to bits, I actually chased with my son those that had done it, caught them. They all admitted they'd done it. They were fully prepared I was going straight to the police and that something would happen. Actually, nothing happened at all. They weren't even visited by the police. And when I followed this up, the police said that they need to, and these were his very words, focus their resources on rape and murder. So this was the very words.
People, do you think?
I'm not saying, this group of people, they were at the sports club on Wednesday night, I confronted them. The ones that were still there when I got over, I do not believe, the boys at least, are from this village. They're coming in from outside. And that was certainly the case with the vandalism at the sports field. They have friends in the village, and they're coming in from the outside. So definitely the two who gave me a load of abuse on Wednesday night were definitely not from this village. The girls were. I mean, I know who they are. So what I'm saying is we have a real problem actually getting the police to do anything. Now, I think the parish council does have a role here. There's been vandalism to their own property. You can pursue that. You can pursue that even through a civil action. Goodness knows how much damage has been done. I would imagine that picnic bench was quite an expensive one. How they managed to crack it to that extent, I really don't know. They must have thrown it up in the air or something. It's extremely heavy. The goals, okay, Alpha's made them, but nevertheless, I had children knocking on my door at 10 o'clock in the morning, come up to play, saying, Miriam, the goals have gone. I mean, literally gone. I mean, goodness knows where they went. They've been actually smashed off and taken away. So the parish council must be seen to be doing something about that. It's criminal damage to the property that we are paying for through our council tax. So, there has been no message out to the village that this has happened on the coronation field. The kids were pretty upset about it. The genuine kids who come up there to play, they enjoy those facilities, and they have been ruined, I believe, probably in this case, at least by some kids that are coming from outside the village.
Okay, Miriam, thank you very much.
Does the parish council have any power to encourage the installation of CCTV?
Not obviously, but also there's always the question of exactly where it goes, and the obvious place for CCTV that goes on buildings which other people own. If you think about it, CCTV has got to have a place, it's got to have power, and it's got to have somewhere to put the recording, and then you've got to be able to get it recording. And if you think of where the parish council can do that, you then come up with a
Put it in the bus shelter.
big zero.
Mini generator.
Okay,
question?
yeah, just
Good question.
you go on, Paul.
Can I just, you mentioned that you knew who the people were, and I'm not asking you to say who they were, but they, just a point of clarification, are they under 18, and do their parents live in the village, or are they from outside the village?
I'm putting my head on the block.
Well, no, I don't. I mean, if they're kids, I mean, maybe I'm using the wrong phrase. Are they adult age?
They're under 18.
They're under 18. That's fine. But and they are from the village. They're not from outside. Okay, that's fine. And the scooter, it might not have been possible, but was there a registration plate on it?
I didn't see the scooter.
Okay, I don't know.
It's around the village all the time, and I know that the guy in the shop recognises and knows the person involved.
Okay,
as well.
Okay.
that's fine.
All right, let's
Thank
let's draw a line on that unless I've missed anything out. That's very helpful for you to tell us all of that.
Jeremy,
Go on, Leslie.
is it worth mentioning about the incident in College Wood on Saturday night?
Get to that.
Okay.
Talking about the sort of Wittersham East first, as it were, this area around Ewan Lamb Close, bus shelter, Memorial Gardens and what have you. The police are certainly on it more. I understand if you say, well, they're not doing any good and not that, but they're certainly on it more than they are on most things. The PCSOs have been, I've had 3 or 4 conversations with them. Yvonne has had some, I know. Kate Richards, PCSO Kate Richards rang me yesterday morning because she wasn't going to be here tonight to brief me on what had been happening the night before. She is very much on it with her colleague Karen Andrews. So, okay, we might like more, I understand, but Wittersham and the vandalism that's going on is very much on the team's radar, the CSU, the Community Safety Unit. Worth perhaps just explaining, the Community Safety Unit is the group in which our PCSOs, our 2 and the others fit, run by a sergeant out of Ashford. And I'm not saying that the flying squad are sort of worrying, or if they have one, is worrying about Wittersham, but the Community Safety Unit, which is the sort of local policing that we used to say we wanted, they have definitely got Wittersham on their radar. The crime reports have been made. The point about Trevor's point, if the kids, if that's what they are, get apprehended, there are certainly crimes to put against their name, in terms of, obviously it depends then on evidence and whether they want to just caution them or prosecute them and all the rest of it. That's their court, not ours, using the word court. So I think I would defend the police to the extent that they have certainly not just sat back and said can't do anything. I understand the point that was made about the 999. I can't really answer for that, except that I think their resources in the middle of the night, because the PCSOs are basically early and late shift.
Yeah, they finish at 11.
Yeah, they're early and late shift. At 3 a.m. you're talking about the mobile PCs, and there are limited numbers, and that's where we are. As I said before, that you don't put yourself at risk if a crime is in progress and you ring 999 and it's one that they feel they can respond to, they will, but it's their call for that. Now Leslie just said, to widen it out slightly, before we'll discuss it in the council meeting as well, but we're having this unusually a bit of an open thing, because obviously it's of huge concern to you, and my early comments weren't to suggest it wasn't of huge concern to you. I understand that, and I have every sympathy with you. Yeah. It's just that if I said, oh, well, I'm going to do this, that and the other, it would be like some of the politicians who, frankly, they're not in a position to do it. The other thing is that there has been other stuff going on around the village. There have been some fires in College Wood, which I've got photographs of for the councillors. And that's partly what Kate rang me about yesterday morning, because that was a repeat event as well. There's also been a major fire down at Potman's Heath, where what looks to me from the ash to have been a pretty large haystack has been set on fire. And I am told that there were 2 others at Brenzett that were set on fire, and one somewhere else, but he didn't remember where it was.
Several.
Sorry?
There's been several.
Several, yeah.
Yeah.
There seems to be an outbreak of all, isn't it?
Featherston, St
Haystacks on fire.
Michael's,
Yeah.
or 2.
So we happily, you know, it's a very small blessing, but happily we're coming to the end of the summer, and that I think usually by sort of not my experience, but you know, these things tend to be in waves. The school holidays is absolutely the worst if they're still at school at all, and obviously the better weather and the lighter evenings and all the rest of it makes it worse. And hopefully, not only will the police make some progress, but also the weather will be our friend. The colder and the wetter it gets, the better.
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt you.
Go on.
We've got November the 5th to come up next.
That's true as well.
And that's going to be big time problems with these videos that come around it.
Yeah, I can't gainsay that.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you.
That's all right. So, does anyone have anything else to add in the public session beyond the incident? We have, of course, got Lee here. Now, I should have, I mean, you know who Lee is, and Joe, although Joe's not here, the paid community warden. Joe is our volunteer who lives in Wittersham.
Lee.
Sorry, what did I just say?
Joe.
Yeah, Joe's the paid one. Lee is the volunteer. Did I say Joe twice?
Yes.
Okay. The point about that is they are a KCC resource, and they are community support, community safety, antisocial behaviour, the sort of sub-crime, very, you know, where you're on the boundary with crime. That's in their area. They do have links straight into the police as well.
Yeah.
So, and Lee lives in the village on the estate, so she is hearing all of this, and I'm sure is on it. She's not a parish council resource, though, but we have close relations. She's KCC, and she can report back through the KCC channels or to the police. The benefit of that area is that the local authorities, whether they make any difference or not, they're the people who control ASBOs, or whatever they call them now, I don't know, I've lost track, and other remedies. There's also, I suppose, in extreme cases, the fact that if these people are living in public housing, then they can start being moved around, but then we could say, well, that's where we suffer from, when other people get it.
That's where we get them from.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, does anyone want to raise anything other than that area? No? Thank you very much then. So I'll close the public session. Thank you for those contributions. The areas that we've got on the agenda are 2 things. The bus shelter, where we were going to talk anyway about its refurbishment, and obviously there's a read across to what Cliff was saying, and we've also got the picnic bench, but we've also had the opportunity of exploring the other things which can be brought in again. So I'll close the public session and we'll carry on with the agenda. Thank you very much. So the first thing is the minutes. Does anyone have any comments to make on the minutes? Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you. Thank you.
No comments at all? Thanks for coming. You can get up. Yeah, good.
Just a minute.
Right, nice to see you.
No more break dancing for you.
Thanks for coming, Leslie.
We'll stay.
Good for you. Good for you. I do know where you come from, but I can't remember. You Lamuse, right. Good, perfect. Spokesman. Okay, does anyone have any comments on the minutes? I had one. one, but not for changing. I noticed that last time Joe Voss, the community warden, said there wasn't a lot to report as the village had been pretty quiet. So that was obviously a, poking something in the eye. No changes at all? So I can sign them. Good, thank you very much. So on we go to matters arising. The first one, change of KCC policy on free school transport. What have I done? Wrong order. Okay, I met Mike Hill, our county councillor, on 3rd of September. Which was the follow-up, if you recall, because we haven't had a meeting for 2 months, after Damien Green, the MP, wrote saying he suggested I had another meeting with Mike Hill. So I did on the 3rd at my house for about an hour. I stressed the PC isn't after a fight with KCC. I thought that was quite important. You know, we're not, I stressed that we get on well with KCC. This is an unfortunate problem, and indeed when we first started it, we thought they were going to say, oh, you're quite right, you know, we've not measured it right. We never expected it to get into this, you know, knock down, drag out, squabble. But nevertheless, we do feel KCC is behaving badly. I think, and I'm saying, when I say I mean I'm reflecting what I think is a common view, that KCC was behaving badly, looking for loopholes in poorly drafted legislation. I'm not even sure they found them, but they're certainly looking for them. Nevertheless, the PC's made it clear we'll support parents, although at the moment the situation is calm. And he did ask me, did I hear any more appeals? And I said, no, not lately, and you must all know where they stand. I did say that we don't wish to be in front of parents. I think it's a point Alan's made in the past. We're supporting parents. We're not going out to have a scrap on our own account. Mike said that he also feels it is duty to support the constituents as well. And of course he has been to appeals. I did tell him, because he wouldn't have known this, that the Secretary of State last year wrote to Wittersham School to congratulate them on their results, because they're in the top 1% of primary schools in the country. And I said I thought it would look amiss that the students that came from that highly praised school are now being pressed by effectively a means test to go to the failing school in Rye, rather than the one they've always been to. I said that pointing that out to the department might be the next step. He also knew I was going to see Damien on something else. I then did meet Damien on the 6th of September. That was going on a totally different thing with the CALP Vice Chairman and the CALP Chief Executive. And because he's the MP for Ashford, I was automatically roped in as the Chairman of CALP Ashford. And they were talking about transport and planning matters. I took the opportunity as the meeting was closing to follow up his letter to us saying I'd met Mike Hill, and that Mike had said, I should have said this before, Mike said he'd discuss it again with his education colleagues, but he didn't have much optimism. And Damien, notwithstanding his letter, said he didn't think he was optimistic either. So we agreed that I would, if necessary, I'd make an appointment to see Damien Green and talk about this topic, because I thought then, if we make no progress through Mike, we'd possibly go to the Secretary of State. But that all rests on where parents are. It may be that parents are going to say, we ain't going to get anywhere, we'll just all share out a rotor or something and all pay the money. None of it is a good solution, frankly. I still think KCC are behaving badly, but I totally share the view that Alan put most succinctly last time, that we shouldn't get in front. And there's no value to the council or the community in doing that. Parents need to take the view first, and we'll help them. And I think people have said before, we have definitely had a good go at it. It's a shame. But anyway, let's see what parents do. So that's KCC Transport.
So can I just be clear, we're not taking any further action? Are you going to see Damien Green? Or
Depend on what happens with parents. If
So that's what I mean with
yeah,
at the moment.
not at the
it's-
moment. No, I did actually condition it in that way. I said I haven't got any parents, you know, raising the issue at the minute. So we'll see. I said I'll see what happens at our meeting today, and because obviously that it's for you to take a decision with me, and the question of where the parents are. But if it's a live topic still, and we're also waiting for Mike, but I don't think Mike's going to come back with anything. He doesn't think he's going to come back with anything. Oh, I tell you something else I should have put in my notes. It didn't come into mind when I was typing them this afternoon. I did say, now this is actually interesting, I did say to Mike that it had been raised with me that it wasn't very fair, that a lot of things aren't, that, and I said, this is what I'm told, I can't vouch for it, I don't know, but the KCC wants to charge our people £400 per child to put them on the bus. So 3 is 1,200. The Freedom Pass, which Kent subsidise, puts children on route buses for about 350 or 380 a year. But also, I'm told they only charge for the first 2 children, and then it's free. And I said that is not right. And one thing I actually, you know, giving KCC a kind of idea on where they might make a small move to take a little heat out of it. I said that's something you could do, is bring them together. And however you do it, whether the Freedom Pass goes on a private coach or you just write the same rules for it or whatever, find an answer that is a little benefit for some people. He said, all the members in KCC are upset about that, all the rural ones. He said they all say that the Freedom Pass is a benefit only for the urban families because no buses in countryside.
Doesn't help, does it?
Yes.
He said it's for the urban people. He said, and people like me. He said, and all the others. He said, none of us like it. So it's a good idea. He said, or words to that effect. So who knows?
Do we know did all the children from Wittersham get their first choice of schools in September?
Answer no. Sue, I think, found out for me a bit ago that she thought there was about 12 moving on to Homewood. That's an interesting point for you here, Sue, because you're a governor and you know this stuff. I said to Mike that I was anxious about children being shunted in the direction of Rye to make spaces for those coming from nearer to Ashford, you know, the Chilmington sweeping down, and maybe I'm just looking for a, you know, not looking for, maybe I'm just seeing sort of fears that don't really exist. And Mike immediately said that being an academy, KCC has absolutely no power over Tenterden's admissions, Homewood's admissions. But I remember you telling me, I think early on, but maybe I misunderstood your wording, that people applied to Homewood and got given places, but KCC then had to endorse them. But maybe it all works like that, but maybe not.
No, you have to go through KCC.
Yeah.
Well, he says they have no power over admissions at an academy at all.
No.
Do we know if all the children got the first choice that went from Wittersham?
Yes. They all got their first choice. Yes.
Yeah.
So they all went to all.
And the majority were Homewood.
Yeah.
There's a
For
couple
some
of grammar
they go to
school
grammars,
ones.
yeah.
Yes, we had grammar school ones.
Yeah.
There was none went to Rye, in other words.
Not that I know of.
That's the answer that.
Indeed, for now.
For now,
Yes.
at the moment, yes. I mean,
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
why
the
it was
thing is-
important we find out what the intake to secondary school life this year.
My anxiety looking ahead, I mean, we're still in 2019, but my anxiety looking ahead to 2022 or 2023 is when there are 500 houses on Chilmington Green, and they're going to have children of secondary school age, and they're not going to go to school in Chilmington because they won't build it any earlier than they have to, and any earlier than the money comes. And by the way, why do we not have any work going on the A28? The narrow bit up past the barracks, because they cocked up seemingly the section 106. The contractor said, you know, the developer said, I can't get the bank bond, I can't get one. To which I would have thought the answer was, well, you can't build the houses then. But it seems that the deal doesn't work that way.
No.
I mean, that's my understanding.
My
It
understanding.
is apparently a well-known glitch in the whole thing.
My
so
understanding
if
is
that's the same with the schools, they're screwed.
they had to sell the first 450 houses before they got the money.
All right, okay.
Have they sold those?
Okay.
So that's the reason for it was a cock up.
Again. Yeah. Okay. That's KCC policy on preschool transport. If I can go on, that's just the first matter arising, I'm afraid. The SIDS update.
It's quicker.
Good. Excellent.
After our last meeting, we said yes to go ahead with it already. Tony Donald came back and said that the order was placed on Friday, which I've made a note, was 26th of July. I will be in touch in due course regarding installation and handover.
Good.
Excellent.
Done.
So just leave a little mental tick or note or something in your brains. When I get to the report on Simon Jones, the highways report, I will add a bit on SIDS again, but we'll do it then. BT Wayleave update.
Right, well, had an email back from the Wayleave officer. If the existing Wayleave agreement does include the cable discussed, then a new Wayleave would not be required. However, as discussed previously, as there is a termination clause included within the terms and conditions of the existing Wayleave, you could terminate the agreement and arrange a new Wayleave for the applicable apparatus to be paid at our current rates. We were inquiring whether there was we can get. The current payment rates for underground cable can vary depending on the type of cable installed and comes under 3 categories. A list of the rates per category is detailed below for your reference. The type of cable would need to be determined by our surveyor as part of our process when progressing the application. If you wish to arrange a new Wayleave agreement, please forward a signed termination instruction for Wayleave, original one, along with the completed declaration form and boundary plan recently sent to you. So for category 1 cable and duct, the lump sum would be £6 or 47p a year. Cable 2, category 2 rather, cable and duct, £4.10 lump sum, 32p per annum. Category 3 is £2.25 lump sum, or 16p. With regard to the apparatus being identified, the location of the underground cable would not normally be marked. If the landowner is carrying out works on the land, then they can contact our Click Before You Dig team to request an engineer to go to site and identify the location of the apparatus before works are carried out. This can be arranged via the following link. So my reaction is to leave it as it is.
Not worth the effort, is it?
We just need to hope that we don't sever the line again, because then they might cause us
But
grief.
that's
Yes,
that's
but I
22 in the system, is it?
Click before you dig.
No, that's perfect, so long as we remember.
So you've always got to click before you dig, wherever you're doing it.
Well, we know
because
where-
you don't know where the cable.
No, we know whereabouts.
It's there now, but I'm talking about other ones. If you're in the middle of a field somewhere,
Well, we
and you're
don't
digging,
know about the Wayleave. for
you
that.
don't know where the
Yeah, we don't know
where the
that.
cable
We've
is.
got the way we
When
know
we do,
whereabouts this
if
is,
we
so
do this
we do.
tarmacking, for instance, we
Yeah.
get them
Yes.
out to do that, and then they can tell us how deep it is and where it is.
Do we know what the current cable is? Probably not, but is it category 1, 2 or 3?
No, he would have to come out to find out.
Okay, because I know that I was waiting for category 5.
You're hoping
Because that's what most
40p a
buildings
year.
have. Well, Cat 5 is the
So that's
standard.
Ethernet. This is a telephone wire.
And that's why I was trying to work out what it meant, categories. No, I agree.
I mean,
Leave
there's not much
it,
money.
leave it
It
as it
means
is.
47p or
And I
32p.
think just advise that
Insignificant.
specific before you dig.
Dig.
That's a t-shirt.
Okay, that's the Wayleave update.
Then the cemetery.
Wi-Fi in
This will
Visible.
be equally short.
George?
Those of you who've got laptops with you will notice there isn't one. There isn't any still. I have chased the person from the village hall committee that's supposed to be doing it, and I haven't had a reply, but I've been away on holiday, so but I haven't had a reply in the last
Should
2
we
weeks.
invite him, or her, I don't know who it is, of course, to come to the next parish council meeting and present?
Well, we have. I was at the film last week,
Yeah.
and he was there.
Oh, good.
So I mentioned it to him, and apparently,
You know more than
hang
I do.
on, by the 1st of October we will have it.
All right.
Mm.
So you know more than I do.
Suspect.
Excellent.
There we go.
Okay.
Good.
He has a
We'll
short.
look forward to seeing it.
I was going to say, it does say September, and it's still September. So.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it's 1st of October.
October.
The year wasn't mentioned.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. Next one then is the VE celebrations next May, 8th to 10th.
Yes.
Update.
Well, once again, when I went to register, what you're registering is what you have agreed to
Agreed
do.
to do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So until anything is decided amongst whoever's going to be interested in doing this, I can't do anything.
Okay.
But you have actually put out a...
I haven't put out
Oh, you haven't?
anything. No.
Well, obviously, if something doesn't happen, we'll be in this catch-22 forever.
Can I make a suggestion that we put out a note to the village in the normal way, saying that this is coming up, and does anyone have any suggestions on how we might celebrate that, and in particular address the Legion, because I would have thought that they would have an interest, but ask for suggestions.
Legion School and other
History.
History Society.
We've got the Legion meeting on Thursday evening, so
Yeah.
History Society. History, of course, covers Stone as well as
Yeah. But if we put out a request for ideas, at least that starts the ball rolling.
History Society.
yeah.
Right.
Maypole.
It'll be May.
Well, that's right.
Request to lower the speed limit along a stretch of Peening Quarter Road. Update. I went along to the meeting that was set up. If you remember last time, Jane Burnett was pushing for a speed limit and had written to us, her husband Peter. They live in Quarter House, which is a thatched cottage going down the hill at Peening Quarter, right opposite the main entrance to the Lordings. And Mike Hill came to see them, and I went and attended that meeting, which was amiable. There were no other neighbours there. They didn't actually intend to have neighbours there, seemingly, but Mike had been given the comments which came in to Yvonne. The thing was, anyone who wanted to say anything. So there was one from Hollyhocks, one from Cambria, which is just on the corner, Oakley on the corner, Lordings and Lordings Cottage. They all put in comments. Mike listens to the points. He said that he would talk to highways people, officers, and I think he put it this way, unless they ruled it out as having no hope, he was then willing to fund out of his allowance a speed survey, which would take about a month, and of course it won't start until they've got the equipment ready, no doubt, from somewhere else. But they'll do a speed survey, and then it'll be a matter of highways officers to decide whether it justifies a speed limit or not. And if it does, then the next question will be funding. And I had the feeling that we might be asked if we want. There's no mention. I have the feeling we might be asked if we want to contribute to that. No doubt to speed it up, as it were, or slow it down.
What would the speed limit be?
Well, I would guess probably 50.
But it is already, isn't it?
No, it's
No,
60.
60.
But where is it? What's the
50 's from
speed
the-
limit?
60 everywhere except
No.
if you've got a 30, 40.
But small height of Tenterton
Oh,
is
small
50.
height detention. I thought it was coming through further.
Small height is
Oh, I've been
40
going
now.
at
It
50
used
miles
to
an
be.
hour.
Then it's 50.
Small height is
Well, you're
40
good.
now, and then it's
Mm.
50 once. It's 50 once you go out of small height all the way to Tenterton's 30.
Can I ask where the what do you call it, assessment? Where would it be made? Well, the reason I mention that is that the speed that is reached where I am,
Yeah.
effectively, is
Faster.
very It's recently some of the two-wheeled brethren, as well as some of the they're way over 60.
Oh yeah, no, I understand.
And but the only thing that slows them down is Cooper's Corner.
Yeah.
But then, of course, they accelerate round the bend now that the water has been repaired, past where Jane and Peter are.
Sure.
And I wondered if to get a realistic assessment of that stretch, that we ought to try and get them to start on Wittersham Road, Poplar Road, whatever.
I I don't know.
And then take it beyond the English wine shop. Because it's just a very small section outside Lordings and the Quarterhouse. It's not going to be worth doing.
Well, the way they pushed it was that there's actually quite a density of entrances there. There's about, well, in fact, I think they said it's denser for entrances than small highways in terms of...
Well, it is where we are, because we've got 1, 2, from us, there's 1, 2, 3, Bernard 4, you've got the 2 houses over, that's 2, and then you've got the track up to Rugden, which is
got the jump.
even more. You've got 3 houses up there, therefore. So you've got potentially on a stretch of about 100 metres, you've got effectively, if you count the Rugden one for 3 or 4 properties, you've got effectively 10 or 12. It is actually the most dense part of the area, probably. And with agricultural vehicles trying to get out.
Yeah, they had more houses than that, but I can't say how many it was now or how dense it was in terms of how many per drive and that. Well, we'll see what happens. I presume that the decisions will be taken partly by highways people and partly by the road safety unit, which he also has. Which we'll hear from
that
as well.
will come back to us too.
No, indeed. So that's about where he got to. He was at least willing to contemplate it. He said he was willing to fund it if they say that it's worth doing. In terms of what speed it might be, Leslie's question, I did hear at Calp that there was a place where they put in a 50 limit somewhere on the grounds that people all did less than 50 anyway. So they weren't really impeding the traffic. I think the trouble is they've always got these mixed policies, I said, what would you get? Probably a 50, I would think.
Frankly, the roads, the country roads now are so dangerous.
Indeed. And Paul is right, with the motorbikes, I was coming out of the gate at the windmill on Sunday with Kathy, Howard is it? And 2 motorbikes came around from the 90 degrees at the stops, and they went past us. We're not very far from the stops. We're less than 50 yards, I would think. They went past us at 60, 70, one on his back wheel only, and we were coming out of a gate that was only 3 foot from the road. Walking,
every Sunday,
not driving. It is
That
bad.
stretch of
starts
road
at 5 o'clock in the morning.
It
It is bad. Having said all of which, if there was a 30 limit, they'd do the same. So
it's the enforcement again, isn't it? Yeah.
Motorbikes seem to do whatever they overtake within 30 miles. 30 and they just go past you.
I've been surprised during the summer months that on Poplar Road there hasn't been a serious accident, and especially from the tractors that have been going through it tremendous speed.
With a trailer on the back.
And not all, but increasingly cars as well. And with those cars which are parked on the left-hand side of the road going towards Peening Corner, I think we're bound to have an accident sometime where things are going.
The good thing about the cars parked along there is that it's what the police call informal traffic calming.
Yes, but even so.
But it's true.
Things will be much faster if you move the cars.
Oh yes, if they can't go anywhere because the houses and gardens were never designed for cars. They've all got a 3-foot drop, or 2-foot drop. Okay, so that was the speed limit thing. At least we've done that. We've shown our support. Bus shelter repair and renovation update. This is of course now slightly curious because we were aiming already before the outbreak of trouble to talk about this, and obviously we've heard tonight about the antisocial behaviour. Now, or crime actually, in some cases, and it does put us in, I'm sure, something of a quandary talking about the bus shelter first. I had already wondered, and I'd spoken to Yvonne about it, whether with the possibility of more vandalism, we were getting a bit of minor vandalism of the bus shelter, which is one reason why we had to renovate it, whether we should actually do something more robust, which would be a brick one. And that that's just off of Google Maps, pass that around. That's the one in Rolvenden Lane. It's a nice little brick bus shelter if we wanted to replace it. Obviously, that does not solve the view that says, well, if there wasn't a bus shelter, there wouldn't be the problem. I'm not sure if that's true, by the way. I mean, what do any of us know? We can't be certain. The fact is, it's still kind of near the middle of the village, kind of near the T-junction, a little bit wider road. It's next to the grass if they want to go in there for anything, mayhem or otherwise. Obviously, the bus shelter keeps them out of the rain if there is any.
Yeah, I think that's the issue, and also protects them from being seen.
Well,
They
yeah.
can stand inside the bus.
Protecting from being seen is a point that Kate raised with me when I saw her on last Tuesday, I think it was, or Wednesday, last Wednesday perhaps. She said that she would quite like to see the front panels of the bus shelter removed. I don't know that we can, because we'd probably fall down, but and you see this one's got front panels.
Mm.
But were it to be built to be structurally sound without, then it wouldn't have front panels. The question about the front panels, her view was that people hide in there. At least hide it more easily. It's probably always a little darker, but the front panels make it worse. I have had discussions where people are saying, well, do they actually, what do people do in the bus shelter? The bus shelter is there actually, in principle, as an amenity for the village, whether they're waiting for a bus or not, but most likely for a bus, and people can get in there and they can sit down. But there is a view that says, well, if you sit down, the bus will go straight past you. I'm sure that's true.
Has been there.
The other issue is in the mornings as well, when the children are waiting for the bus. Very few of them use the bus shelter.
No.
Most of them stand outside,
Yeah.
so it's no use to them.
And the other, gentleman Wright, you said that there are other bus stops in the village.
Every other bus stop.
It doesn't have a bus shelter.
Sure.
So why that one?
I think because it's the busiest, and it's the busiest because there's a whole load of people that come up the street to the bus. If you think about it, all of the houses down the street, if they want a bus, you can't get a bus in the street, you walk up to...
I think it's relative, you're talking ones and twos, if you're talking
well,
lots of people.
Well, we only have about 2 on the bus anyway.
Yeah, precisely.
You know what I mean?
I just think
people use that.
Does the PCSO think that having the bus shelter as it is at the moment hides activity on Coronation Field?
Well, I don't know about hiding.
You?
She didn't say that.
Okay.
She was anxious to say she thought the front panels were...
No, I understand. I just wanted... So to me, I think there's basically 4 outcomes. I mean, we don't want to go down the route of spending a whole load of money, which we were thinking of, without having a clear plan. So we can either remove it completely, not have a bus shelter, and that gets rid of the problem of people congregating in it, and it's very open. Or you have one that is transparent, which a lot of places have, although aesthetically
horrible.
It looks horrible, but it would actually qualify for sheltering people from the rain. Or you rebuild what we have at the moment, or you build one without a front to it. The other thing, of course, is you could have one which is, given the fact that the last bus is at 5 o'clock roughly,
About that.
then you have one with a roll down shutter, like a security shutter on a shop. So people go, no, why would you go into a bus shelter with no bus?
Well,
Get out of the rain.
a village amenity.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem.
You're in a conservation area, so
Yeah.
something like that is...
Didn't you go into the bus shelter with your girlfriend when you were younger?
Yeah.
That's why
You weren't waiting for a bus, were you?
Sorry, why would I go into a bus shelter? So what was wrong with the car?
You were posh.
The driver didn't look round. But the point is
Too much
that
information now.
there will be other places, there are conservation areas that have had to have this problem in the past. But one of the issues is, and I'm not advocating it personally, but there is, was raised today that if you get rid of it completely, and then of course no one can congregate in it, and there will be people who object that. But having heard some of the stories tonight, which I think are absolutely appalling, I'm less inclined to champion having a bus shelter that people can hide in, particularly when the police are saying it is a risk.
Yeah, I agree.
I know the bus shelter in Rolton Lane, and it works well in Rolton Lane. And I like Jeremy's suggestion. I think that Possibly building it again as a brick shelter is not a bad one, possibly leaving off the front and just leaving it open at the front. My instinct, and I'm not quite sure why this is, but my instinct is that to remove a facility or an amenity like that isn't the right way forward to control public behaviour.
Yeah.
And I just don't, I mean, I think that I'm not saying I know the answer, but to remove a facility or remove an amenity isn't the right thing to do. There probably, I'm sure there is the right thing to do, but it isn't that, in my opinion. And I think as Parish Council we should be doing everything we possibly can to encourage people to use public transport. And whether a bus shelter will, or a better bus shelter will actually enable that, it might just make a small difference. So from my perspective, I think we should look at other ways of controlling bad behaviour. We should rebuild, if we can afford to, a bus shelter, possibly even copying the one in Malvern Lane, which is worth stopping and looking at, because I have done. And I think that's the way we should go myself.
There is always the possibility, but it may be that it defeats anybody, of putting a light in it, providing, I mean, it all costs money, but obviously there is light, there's electricity not very far away from it, and if we could organise to put light in it, then that would, doesn't stop people using it, but it does mean that it's not so nefarious. The problem, of course, is that it gives them an opportunity to try and break the light.
Exactly.
Now, I think lights nowadays can probably be made fairly vandal-proof, but I'm not sure they're completely vandal-proof. In other words, in a controlled environment, you may make it very difficult for them to break them, but if they can bring a big enough hammer, they will possibly always manage it.
Or the bus shelter gets demolished and you just finish up with the light left. That's probably what we need.
And whether or not there's CCTV in it, put a notice on it saying CCTV is in operation here and your actions are being recorded.
And they'll have a go at that.
Well, indeed, but then, you know, I mean, at least it's a sort of veiled threat, and it might make a difference.
Yeah, I was just to say, I mean, I agree with what people are saying in terms of it doesn't feel right to take an amenity away from the village to stop a problem that a few people are causing, and it's obviously having a big effect on the people that it affects. But I think we also have a responsibility where we can to design out opportunities for crime and behaviour. That's why when they're building new estates now, they don't have the little alleyways that they used to have. They don't have the blocks of garages that they used to have, because they're all opportunities for people to congregate and cause nuisance, basically. So I think if there is an opportunity, whether we get rid of the bus shelter altogether, whether we have an open one just with a front, just with a roof over it, totally open with 2 poles, whether we just have a bench there, even something that people can sit on while they're waiting for the bus.
And the logical extension of removing the bus shelter is to say to Cliff, well, we'll knock your house down because you've had windows broken. Therefore, you won't ever get windows broken again because it's been knocked down. I mean, we could flatten the whole village.
You know, I don't think that follows on really, does it?
Well,
no.
We're giving people ideas now.
No, so I'm not in favour of flattening the village, basically.
It is. I think the earlier point you made, that it's not a good, doesn't have a good feel to it to kind of run away from the bad behaviour. Although at the same time, as George said, designing out opportunity is well understood. The trouble is designing out is not simply removing. They don't say, well, to avoid the trouble on the estate, we won't build the estate. They say, let's build the estate as intelligently as we can. Indeed. And that's where we might get into the position of trying to change the bus shelter without taking it away.
But we're doing retro designing with a village that's already here, aren't we? That's
I think we need to, I mean, I do take the point about having an amenity there. And my suggestion, I mean, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to lower the hedge. And the people that were advocating having the railings were saying that actually this safety and vandals couldn't hide behind it, which was an interesting point. But still having the amenities there, I suggest that I don't know whether the opportunity through our membership we pay for with CALC and NALC allows us to put out a question. Anyone in England has had this problem before, and any suggestions? I mean, to me, we can't be the only village in England that's had this problem. So can we just explore with
there is a kind of...
It's a shame they don't have a
round-robin system.
Yeah, I mean, because actually, given well, maybe with CALC, because of your connections, you could ask them. We do pay a substantial amount of money each year to CALC, and we haven't asked the questions about what we get from that, and surely a sharing of experience and
What
advice
we could do,
and what have you
what
is...
we definitely could do, whether it'll come up with anything, I don't know, it's an alternative route to the same answer, is for Yvonne to write to clerks and councils direct
That's just what I was going to
a
say.
letter and saying, we have a problem with antisocial behaviour in our memorial bus shelter.
Yeah.
Does anyone else have a solution? And basically put the
And
points.
security lighting might well be part of that. You know, so.
I do know that it's dark in there. Because I know it's dark. I do know it's dark in there. I'm rather like Leslie. I'm not going to go into too much detail, but I do know that it's easy for people to write because they do.
I wasn't speaking currently, Jeremy.
Oh,
More like when I was about 16.
No, I'm speaking currently, but it wasn't my person there, and I wasn't doing the looking.
Okay. Too much information almost.
We got that. As far as the bus shelter is concerned, then Yvonne could write to clerks and councils direct. And I think if we were to start working in any particular direction, we probably ought to think in terms of a survey around the village, you know, even if it's informal on Nextdoor or in Outlook, you know, anyone can tell Yvonne if they have views. I would be a bit uncomfortable about just whipping out the bus shelter were we to decide on that, and I am sharing Alan's view without getting
it's something that's fairly urgent though, isn't it?
Yes,
Because I looked at it
yes.
and it's beginning to fall down, and if the trouble is if something drops down on somebody's head.
Could we put barriers across it, stop people using it temporarily until make a decision?
That's
I think also we've got to, we had a lot of anxiety this evening from members of the village. I think we've got somewhere down the side to reassure them sooner rather than later.
Yes,
I'm going to encourage you along looking at the one at Rolvenden Lane.
Is it an afternoon out, is it?
But how do you know the one at Rolvenden Lane's got no one sitting in it and then knowing your neighbours?
I don't think
there might be a better class of resident up there.
And they have a group of responsible citizens who overlook it.
They haven't got anything behind it in the same way as we have. If you look at those photographs, or
houses
no one's going to go behind it at all. And that's one of the problems there. Is that it's isolated.
That's it on the wrong side of the road.
I was just about to say that.
Well, I don't know. Can you move above?
There's no room.
On the other side, it's the alleyways.
You've got
No,
you've got the lay-by and then only a narrow path.
You stick it in front of the
The
garage.
reason we've got the bus shelter where we have is because a piece of the field was taken out to put it on.
And also because that's where the bus stop is.
And Miss Hazeltree was in favour.
Okay, I take Colin's point, although that goes wider than the bus shelter. I think the bus shelter we can start making inquiries about, because obviously, as Paul said, we wouldn't want to start spending money on either a refurb or a rebuild without feeling that we had a good plan. It may be the piece we get on top of what's happening at the minute, although the trouble is that as youth grow out of it, further ones always come along into that age bracket. Because whatever age these children are, you know, they are mid to late teens or whatever, they probably are not going to be doing it by the time
They've got at
they're
least
20,
one
21,
driver.
22. Yeah.
So come in a car.
And I think you have securely made the point that antisocial outside behaviour is very much an August issue. If we have riots in this country, they're always in August. And
they're always in
and like the French, because they're on holiday.
So possibly some sort of seasonal intervention, like, you know, the parish council standing guard or something, you know.
Raising the watch.
Let's carry on and talk about the other things in the same part of the village as this. It does occur to me, subject to other people's views, that there's no reason why we don't make sure the apples are picked and chucked, not chucked at the rack, but chucked away. I don't see any reason why we should do away with the apple tree, but if apples are I mean, Cliff said it's happened before.
There's 2 apple trees, aren't there? There's one by the gate or something.
Okay. No reason why the apples don't get picked, and they can get picked well before they're at the size.
They may not be taken down, but they could be pruned considerably, so that there's not big.
So I'm always against removing trees if there's any reason,
But
possibility.
we don't have to leave the tree will last without the apples as well. In other words, before the apples are throwable,
Yes.
Alf could go and pick them all
Yes.
and compost
I
them.
could prune them, just prune the trees just when the apples are forming. That's what they
Well,
normally do.
yes,
okay,
exactly.
well, you know the point I'm making.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the walnut tree is concerned, which is now one of our memorials,
Memorial.
I personally, if you maybe don't share my view, I don't see walnuts as being quite such good ammunition as the apples.
The squirrels will have them.
Yes.
Well, we've got quite a long time, I think.
Some time away.
Well, we've got a
And
while
if
to
you're
go.
standing from
Going
the
off
other
my
side, if you're
walnuts
standing
is
from the
in-
other side of the
Maybe that's the
road,
thickness of my finger.
yeah, if you're standing from the other side of the road, the speed of a walnut by the time it reaches the ewe and lamb isn't going to be very high, whereas the apples will still be going with a good,
I haven't studied
good
that.
while behind.
I've had a walnut tree in for 40 years and I'm still waiting for walnuts.
Yeah,
You're not
So
being
your squirrels aren't.
No, the squirrels.
The squirrels are very happy.
Yeah, so I've got
None
long
of
enough
them left.
to remove the walnut tree.
Okay.
I think the we can deal with the apple issue, as you
That's
rightly
the
said,
main thing.
quite quickly. I don't see that as a difficulty. I think my worry remains what, you had a substantial number of people came in tonight who
Yeah.
who it's affecting their life.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
I wrote a note to myself that just to say that in fact I'm just wondering if we should not make the Police and Crime Commissioner aware of the concerns of a lot of people in our village.
I think we've got to
Well,
do something.
Remember, PCC has no operational control at all.
No, but I understand that, and I understand that. But from a villager's point of view, they're saying not we're saying anything. We're passing information on. We could pass the information on quite easily to the police commissioner, who may or may not take action. But they may well feel that going to the commissioner without their concerns may well alleviate some of their fears at the moment.
All right.
Just
Would you like to do
endorsing
that?
Colin's point there, has the Rural Crime Squad has enlarged significantly over the
Yes.
last couple of years? I went to the last Rural Parish Police Forum, and there was a presentation that was very impressive of the work they've done. It's quite far-reaching. They seem to have recruited a fairly, how can I put this, tough bunch. They're experienced guys, and I wondered if.
I don't
given
this is rural crime.
No.
Well, given the vandalism in College Wood, and
that they'll be interested in,
and
but not, I think they'll be interested in that.
yes,
and the
yes. So my point is that how do we know this is not connected? Haystacks don't suddenly catch fire on their own.
We're guessing it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is connected. I think we should enlarge the net, so to speak, and say and formally approach the Rural Crime Squad, saying we have a growing issue in all different areas, and we quote some of the stuff that's more their bag, and ask for a site visit. Because I think if we can be seen, there's little we can do, but if we can be seen by the village at least advocating the case for improved safety, I think we should formally approach the inspector who heads up the Kent Rural Crime Squad and say, please, would someone come and visit? I mean, they might turn around and say no, but then it's on
Or
their...
at least can they
it's
come
on
and
their
listen?
watch.
I think
Can
that-
they come
I think,
and
to be
listen
honest, Paul,
to villagers
the
themselves
yes.
Rural
and
Crime
have
Squad
a meeting
is
in
for
their
Kent.
Yeah.
The Rural Crime Squad is for Kent. They are picking up the things and the intelligence that they want to chase, whether it be hair coursing here or farm machinery thefts there.
Which we had.
Oh, absolutely. I think they will already have been given the opportunity, I don't know that, I'm not saying they're doing it, the opportunity to pick up on what's already been reported. I mean, most of those things are driven by databases.
Yeah, but
These
but
things
also,
are going into
that's very reactive, if you like. I think we need to find. I don't think it's a magic
Well, no,
answer.
they're there already.
I think
It's not
no. I think we need to be proactive. I think we need to be seen to be proactive. We need to be seen to be advocates of the people in the village.
Yeah.
That's why we're elected to do this job. And by tying all this in together, we raise it up their scale of priorities, because they're not going to come out for a bus shelter, right? But we raise it up and we say this is connected, and we basically say we want to get on your radar. We don't just want to be a statistic that you respond to, because what happens with statistics is they go up and down, and they will then gravitate towards the higher statistics. And if we're not on there, forget it. You know, they'll have other bigger fish to fry. We have to find a way of banging the drum loudly so they come along here, and at the very least, if we request a visit to be able to articulate that, maybe we have to convene a special meeting of the parish council or what have you to go out. We've done site visits before for all sorts of things, but then at least that we can demonstrate to the village that we take it seriously and we're trying to do something within our limited power.
I agree.
It's fine.
At least we're raising awareness somewhere or something.
I think we have to be a bit of a nuisance.
Sure,
and I doubt the message will get through, but at least we need to be able to advocate.
Confident
if we raise the
that
profile,
we are working that way.
But generally,
If you want
well,
to.
the alternative is you go knock on doors on the estate.
No,
I mean the fact is that
it's not the alternative.
no,
I'm saying,
but the fact is we kind of
the crime
collect.
squad is driven in that
we
way.
heard. I
They're
know.
driven from their machine behind that.
If only if nobody advocates strongly. But I know certain parishes where the parish council or the KCC member has taken up cudgels on this. You've got to fight for your corner. That with limited resources, we've got to be almost selfish.
Okay, well let's
and the other thing is the other thing is it is generally known, it seems to be, who these people are. They seem to live in the village. They seem to be under 18. They have parents in the village. They might be in Ashford-owned housing. You know, the message needs to.
They can come up with some evidence.
No, that's not how it works all the time. I've been at the Police Parish Forum where they had a big problem in Bethersden, right, with kids racing their motorbikes up and down, and they had a PC who was in that area then, and he said, "I'll have a word." And it actually turned out to be quite effective. So it didn't have to go to the courts, they didn't have to raise stuff with the CPS and all that, he had a word. And I just think that if it's known that we are aware of it, and on behalf of the village we're going to do what we can do, I don't know whether some of these parents are, how can I put it, bright enough to put two and two together and maybe have a word themselves, but we shouldn't be seen to not do what we can.
Sure. I'm all in favour of us trying to stimulate the parents to get a grip, although it may be difficult depending on who the parents are. And we have potentially the October outlook coming along, and we have next door, but obviously we'll only get through to some of them. And certainly if the council is supportive of this, willing to put a message on both of them, saying that the police are involved, there are crime reports, and their children are in danger of getting into trouble.
Well, I think Kat Collins' point is, I think we formally write as a parish council to the highest possible level of police authority in this county and get on the radar. Whether that does any good, who knows? But at least we can be seen to be.
Fine. Is that what people want to do?
Yeah. And hand on heart, we can say we've done our best.
Exactly.
Okay. Do you want to draft something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Colin.
You're going to draft it, Colin?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Who do you want to sign it?
Pardon?
Who do you want to sign it?
You, if you wish, or I will quite happily put my head above the parapet.
Well, I'll have a look. I'll have a look at it, obviously.
Yeah.
But then potentially I will sign it if you would.
Well,
like.
doesn't it go
Yes.
on behalf of the council anyway?
Indeed.
Yes, it's on behalf of the
It's on
council.
behalf of the council, but that means it can either be signed usually by the clerk or myself. Obviously, councillors can write on their own account, but I'm happy.
I think we should collectively, we've agreed we're going to do something.
We'll do a letter.
Collectively we do a letter, and I think it should come from the chair.
Yeah.
Did you want anything now? We've talked about that. Do you want anything?
I think that makes sense unless people don't want it. That's addressed to the parents.
Yeah.
There is criminality going on in Wittersham. The police are heavily involved.
They know who it is.
There are reports as to who it is.
Yeah.
You need to keep your little darlings out of trouble.
Will you do that?
And on next door,
Yeah,
I think might get to the
I'll
people concerned.
I'll aim to do that.
If one of us fails,
remember to get it
we should
done.
have a band.
We're now on the 10th, so it's about Saturday, Sunday. Okay.
Yeah.
Might change from the
It's
On the waves as well.
That's right.
It's good if we do it.
Nightly.
Nightly.
Thanks for coming. Okay. I think, I mean, you'll write the letter, Colin.
Yeah.
I would be happy if you gave some support to the PCSOs who really have been here quite a lot Oh, I was going to show you these photographs. There's one on the back as well. This is all College Wood stuff.
What date is this?
This was Saturday night.
So this is
Saturday.
this
Yeah.
this happened before, didn't it?
That was there.
Yeah.
And someone
This is the
said
fresh
tonight
one.
that yes, this is the second
And
time.
there's a police car to show you.
Um,
To show
I
you
thought
there.
for one moment that was
but
the
it
vehicle.
happened. It's interesting. Someone from the public
Yeah.
said tonight that there was an incident at 2 o'clock,
Between 1 and 3.
1 and 3 on Saturday night, Sunday
See,
morning.
that's got to be local people.
So
because
it's
not everybody
about the
knows
same
College
time
Wood
as
is there.
this happened.
No,
and
you're
this
right.
was reported to me by Janetta Sindel, who lives down at the bottom of that lane
Yeah.
and is 87.
Yeah.
Again, she's a very feisty 87, but it's frightening and it's also very dangerous. The wood could have, it's very
Well, she's
dark
very
and-
remote. After Janetta got onto you and you got onto me and I sent you the notes on
Yes.
how to do it and you told her, you may
Well, I
not have
told
heard.
Rafe.
Oh, Rafe, okay.
Yes.
The next thing was that I then heard from Kate, who sent me all these pictures. They were Kate's pictures. And Kate said that she turned up at Janetta's and Janetta said, wow, that was quick.
Yes.
And she said, yeah, but actually someone else reported it
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
Be interesting
Yes,
with
yes.
those. I guarantee those beer bottles will have DNA on them.
Janetta or Rafe, one of them, has written a very nice note to the sergeant who runs the community safety unit.
Right.
I was told that by Kate. She was very pleased that they got a very nice,
Oh, that
nice
would
note
be
through.
great.
Very fun. Okay.
It is,
Fair enough. Well, Colin's going to do that letter. I'll do the thing in Outlook and next door. But as I was saying about those pictures, if you were able to, what I don't want us to be doing with other people's support, hopefully, is giving an implication that we haven't had anything.
No,
I know we want more.
It's not
We're
the
really
implication.
saying that the PCSOs are unable to cope.
It's not from that point of view which is the concern. The concern is that we have a number of elderly and younger residents who are frightened, distressed, and property damaged.
Yeah.
And those matters are being looked at after. They're getting no feedback or support.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about.
What's quite frequent is if you go along the riverside at Potman's Heath, for a small fire to have been lit, and sadly they just throw the beer bottles into the fire, and so there's not only the fire detritus, but there's also all the broken glass
everywhere,
and that happens. And it's the same sort of behaviour as this, so wouldn't be surprised if it's the same, the same perpetrators.
Yes,
you see what I mean.
And the haystack that was lit near you, I mean, that was a fairly big haystack from the looks of the ash.
I think by putting things in the local press and writing up to the group that are showing a lot of anxiety at the moment, it will demonstrate that we have taken it seriously, and we want to keep them in the loop, and we're concerned.
Correct. Anything else to say on that? No? Okay, let's move on then. That's done our matters arising by 9 o'clock. No, it hasn't. We've still got Exiting Acton Lane
Acton Lane,
update, which is Paul's picture of a mirror.
So, on reflection.
Yes, I
I'll
spoke
put
to.
out a request for info.
Thank you very much for that, Paul. It was very well I I emailed him and asked him whether he would consider putting it back. He came back to say that I'm not sure that the mirror was at the top of Acton Lane. I think it was at the top of Bud's Lane.
No,
It was
that's
at
the
the
top
top
line.
Well, it's still
The
there.
hedge opposite,
The
post is still
The
there.
wooden support behind it is still there. All we need is someone to put the mirror, a new mirror on it.
But in principle,
Oh, I know definitely where it was.
I don't
Because I found
see,
it very useful.
I don't see a problem. If you would like to get some idea of cost and come back to me, we can discuss it in more detail. So that's when I looked online, and I was surprised at how reasonable the cost was. And that's when I asked if you could look into it, because I'm not too hot on what we really need. And so Paul has come back with a mirror at £24.39.
It's the different size, but the biggest
Yeah.
one is
Yeah.
60 cent.
concave.
So,
little
yeah,
concave.
it's the standard
Or
one.
even
yeah.
convex.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yes.
Either of those.
I mean, my thought was if we
No.
paid,
Convex.
we paid for it
Mm.
and asked him to.
Yes. Yeah.
Because it's
Good
his,
idea.
it's
If we-
his hedge. So
It's
I
his
think-
land.
It gets done, doesn't
Yeah.
it? If we
Yes.
pay for it, then
Yes.
that's asked for reimbursement. It gets done.
Yeah, for the sake of that amount of money.
Yeah.
And we'll volunteer Leslie to test it with him. Well, you're there, you see, you can just look at
What do you mean?
does it work?
What?
Well, drive up there and see if you can see.
I used to find the old one.
It
very
was very
useful.
useful. It was
Is
useful.
it on
How
a
long-
post? Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's on a
It's
15-foot pole.
Quite high up.
And it got broken. And there's
Yeah.
mirrors
The
all
track-
the
the
way
tractors
along.
go around the
That's the
corner.
problem.
break it.
I mean, just a swinging tractor can flatten it.
Yeah.
So that's the problem.
I can't see
Well, if he
anyway.
breaks
See
it, you
how
can
attractive
replace
it
it.
You don't go to just go and have a look at
Prove
it.
it.
You go to
I think getting
How does it work?
to
Makes help.
No, that's
something
fine.
positive.
Are we agreeing to that?
Yes.
Yeah, good, thank you. Right,
That sounds
I think that's enough. It's on an update, so
That's all.
we'll agree that.
Right.
Right, on we go. Thank you. The planning application has been withdrawn. We've got to consider a quote for a new path between the existing path around the Memorial Gardens and a pedestrian gate out of Coronation Field. And Yvonne has news.
Yes, I contacted Pankhurst Plants, who laid the one,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, relayed
Yeah.
the one there. He's come back with two. I met one of his chaps up there because he was stuck in London, so he asked one of his chaps to meet me there. So we went through and we sort of said where it would go. And the tree stump where we took out the tree before is within where it would go, so it would include removing it's almost at ground level.
Yeah.
That wouldn't be a problem. And I explained that it would be going over the telly wire, so he said that wouldn't be a problem. And it will be removing the slabs. And I've spoken to Alf and he would like the slabs kept so that we can use them at some other time. So he's come back with to remove the stump and provide a linking tarmac path, approximately 40 square metres, to KCC specification. Option 1, path with precast concrete edging, is 3,840 with batting top. And then option 2 is with timber edging, and that's 3,440.
Sorry, 3.8 and 3.4.
Two.
Virtually. I spoke to Alf this morning and said what would he prefer because he's out there mowing all round it,
Yeah.
and he said the precast
Precast, yeah.
is better.
There for life, isn't it?
Yeah, so that was that. I did question the KCC specification. I said, what's, what did he mean? Is this a requirement for a path on private land? Because I just wondered, what is it? And he came back to say the KCC means Kent County Council, which of course I know, and they have certain specs on path construction. This means you will have a path with a certified spec. This is probably what is on the path that we are joining against. Basically, it just means the right depth in construction and the right materials to be used. We do this to give customers peace of mind that it's all done properly. There are plenty of companies out there that don't and not giving the quality that they should. And this helps. So that's clear.
And it's going to wind around from coming off the bus shelter
Yeah.
area. It's going to have to sort of go with a wiggle through the gate and
But
then
just
around.
goes round.
Just go
Yeah.
round.
Just sweep,
Just a little loop.
a sweep
Yeah.
round. And then I had blurb through from Landscape Services. They're doing advertising for work, basically. And one of their things said that they did tarmacking, so I contacted them. And they came back with 5,995.
So it does imply that the other one's better. I mean, is a
No, it
better
does-
price.
yeah.
Not better, but it's the
The
price.
price is more conducive to our needs at the
Yeah.
present time.
Indeed.
So do you want a recommendation?
Well, I want. Do you?
Are we ready to go with that? And are we okay with 2 quotes for something over £3,000? I think maybe the budget is 5, isn't it?
We haven't got a local quote. I mean, is that something
Well,
that normally
only in
is?
as much as Chris Pankhurst used to live.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Was he anything to do with Pankhurst Daily Nurseries, who used to be in Wittersham years and years and years
I
ago?
don't know.
He's still got the land down the bottom of our road as well.
Well, he probably is. He's probably a descendant
Yeah.
of
Still got
Pankhurst
that land
Daily.
down there.
Next to Archie's Post. And
So-
he lives in Rovenden.
Yeah.
Well, that's...
He lives. Yes, he lives on the main 28 now.
Yeah.
That's
Rovenden Hill.
Yeah.
Drive.
So yes, I mean, you know.
He's
That's
quite,
pretty local, isn't
yeah, he's done work
Yeah.
before.
Can I propose we accept that lower quote?
Second.
If we've got the money in the account, why not?
Are we happy?
Yes.
Yes.
Concrete edging.
Good to get it done before the wet.
Yes.
Before when?
The wet.
If it comes.
Before we demolish.
Like next week.
Tonight, sometime.
But I think that is actually something we can say we've made a real improvement. And I think we've also then got to try and persuade people to use it.
Yes.
Yes, I agree.
If we could have it done before Remembrance Day, that would be possible. You know,
That's a bit near, but,
Well, I don't know.
but
You know.
did he say how long the job would take?
No, I haven't. No.
No.
Couple of days.
Find that out.
Well, I wouldn't have thought it would have cost.
But you've got to click and what's it first.
Click and dig.
Yeah, that's it.
I prefer solicitors.
It's
One
clicking
of-
not dig.
when we know when it's going to be done, or even before, but it's just that I was thinking that we could let the school know so that they can put it in there. That would get straight to the
Good.
parents.
Yeah.
That path is there for linking. I
Yeah.
mean, they will see it being done, but it would be good to.
I think they should be known about it. Yeah, put it in the weekly
Well, it will be
magazine as
in
well.
the chairman's report
We
anyway.
we could ask Kent's Road Safety Unit to do us one of these A signs to stick there saying, please use the path.
Oh, yeah.
The people who use it the most, the kids going to their school buses. Don't they?
Exactly right.
Good. Okay.
Good. Okay, thank you for that. Now, the... yes, you'd already talked to Ashford and they said they weren't
Yes.
interested.
Yes.
Didn't bother about that at all, which saves us grief and time. Now the next one is to consider a project to pave alongside the highway from the entrance to the Memorial Gardens in the street to number 1 the street. This is a little bit of a longer shot. It was just really saying, we do this one first, we'll not take too much on at once, but looking ahead, people actually, all of us walk down the road really.
That's right.
Along that grass, but
Is this partly to prevent the car parking?
well, if we put a curb there, it will help.
See,
Could we just not put a couple of, you know,
Yeah.
maybe
It's not done
Won't
for
be
that
that big,
reason.
will
It's
it?
done so people can walk
Yeah.
along
Can't
it
see
rather than
It's
in
quite
the road.
difficult to walk along there now.
Because the other thing is that people do
No,
park there
no.
and you walk
No,
on
it's
the
the
outside of the
hairdressers.
cars.
yes.
Yeah. Oh,
If it's-
so
if
it's
it's,
really
um,
hairdressers on the gate.
If it's done with a raised curb, then people are going to be in the road. It'll make it, by the way, more difficult to come around the bend, of course, when there's always people parked there and you can't see where you're going. But informal traffic calming again.
Exactly, Colin. Well, you took on me.
We could use a couple of Alan's tank traps. He's got the entrance to his place.
Well, that's a
couple
different
of
thing
those.
again. That's a
That would
different
stop
thing
people
again.
parking on it.
Well, so with the curb.
Yeah, but a lot
New
cheaper.
laws.
I know, but we're paving it for people to walk,
Walk on.
not to keep the cars
That's
off.
the priority.
Is that something for us to do though, or KCC?
KCC have said
Yeah.
to...
Well, I think
I mean, they say they haven't got the money,
No,
but
that's-
Dandelions, get it
when the
right.
KCC do it. That's what Sue said.
Who's
And
responsible
that-
for it?
Well, I went to Darren, our highways. Does he consider this? And that's what they said to him. Does he consider it KCC land or parish council? I said it's our hedge, our thing behind it. And he's come back to say he's checked with soft landscaping or whatever. They don't cut it, so as far as he can see, it's either parish council or you could ask Ashford. But it's not going to be Ashford
No.
because we had that was obviously all bought.
Yeah.
And also,
Who's responsible for the pavement for the, you know, this way?
Well, that's highway.
So when their pavement runs out,
Then they're not, is what they're saying.
okay,
This is just next to a farmer's field. basically.
yes, it was originally.
okay, but surely if highways are responsible for the pavement along that, you know, they should just carry it on.
No, well, they're not.
No, 'cause it's a grass road.
Mm.
it doesn't work.
However, what?
Not even if we can say it's a requirement for ease of transport for disabled people.
Well, you can always have a go at trying to get KCC to take it over, but they're saying they have not taken it over in the past. He has said, none to do with us, it's just a grass veg that belongs to the field.
But when we came with the land holdings, when we've gone into
Yes.
that, and we started doing all that, and they've come up with maps
Yeah.
for the ground. Well, this one is the one that they've got for the Memorial Gardens Coronation Field. And they have taken it right, including the grass veg, because down here further is where the pavement is, but they've coloured it in as showing that it is
ours.
It is ours, and we have agreed that map.
So,
Rest
my case.
So given that at this point KCC has said that their mapping does not show it as theirs, the chance of getting them to accept it is nil. Our lawyers think it will fall to us because it's on the field. My suggestion is that if we wish to do it after we've done the one we've just agreed, then we would need to, because it's not KCC's, arguably we will not have to use an approved KCC contractor. Arguably, I say, I don't know. We would need to sort out like someone like Pankhurst or whoever to give us a quote for it. And when we knew what we were going to do, I would suggest, looking ahead, that we then write to KCC saying, we have been told that this is not your land. We are about to do this for road safety purposes as part of our long-term scheme to provide a safe and please write to confirm that you have no interest in us not doing exactly what we propose. Otherwise we can always have them say, oh well, we don't know who told you that, and all the usual.
I thought you were going to say then ask them to
Whose driveway is this?
Well, you tell me, George. I would think that...
that's the entrance to the start.
That's the
gateway.
gate.
Yeah.
Into
It's
the Memorial
into
Gardens.
Gardens.
Right.
This is where we want to take it from there.
Yeah, up
down
to
Go
where-
down to the street,
Yeah.
to number one.
Addresses.
Yes.
When we get, George makes a point that fits into a different context. When we get to my report on the meeting with Simon Jones, have in your mind the thing about highways plans, because we would have the opportunity then of saying, if we go down that path, and I think it's quite a good idea, we say, here's our highway plan, dun dun dun, we haven't got very much to put in it, to be honest. Peeling quarter, obviously, speed limit and whatever. Paving this little piece, I did show it to him. You would like to see it done, willing to partner on it. You know, and then you're really inviting him to cough a little bit.
Yeah.
The only problem there is there's water. There is the connection that the water for the green, the gardens is.
Yeah. So maybe South East have to come along and bury their pipe a bit deeper.
It's a job for Click and Doug, isn't it?
Right. Okay, we've done that one.
So, what are we agreeing?
We
are
have
going
talked
to-
about it. We are interested in doing it, I think.
Yeah, but not.
But it will come in its own time. It's in the sort of medium-term plan.
In due course.
Yeah.
In fact, it could even go into the, haven't been looking at it lately,
for
the task force. Yeah.
Don't go in that far.
Okay, the next one is we're back to ASBs. Consider purchasing a new picnic bench. Now, Miriam made a good point earlier, which was, how the devil did they manage to break it? Al thinks that they picked it up and dropped it, and the actual dropping splayed the legs. That's possible, but it was blooming heavy. I thought maybe they forcibly dragged it, and
you
the
could
friction
see where they dragged it across the.
And I think the dragging did just ripped it off.
I wasn't here around this weekend, so I didn't see it or whenever it got done.
Taken away a while ago. About 3 weeks ago.
But it was in a dire strait anyway. It would have needed almost replacing anyway. So that, I know that's not the issue, but we're at that point when it needed replacing anyway. So it's not as if it's a brand new one that's broken, but I know that still doesn't justify it.
Have we got a potential cost?
It was bought in 2011 for £444. A replacement, £584. But my view is, while we've got all this going on, exactly.
Just wait. Alf did, by the way, give an estimate of cost to the PCSO because
Yes, he had to,
because
yes.
she wanted
Yeah.
it for the criminal damage charges.
Was there any damage done to the exercise equipment?
No.
Oh, okay. I just saw a lorry in there the other day, and they were sort of.
Yes, we've had a piece was loose. That will come out in the report.
Okay. Right.
Yes, that was.
They had other stuff on the back of their lorry, so they must be doing it at several sites. And I wondered whether or not they were taking stuff away.
No,
but they're not.
one of them was loose in the
So do you want to agree in principle the cost of replacing it? A date to be agreed?
That's what we said, wasn't it? We do want to do it, but not yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we can agree then. Just hold.
Agree in principle.
Yeah.
Agree in principle, and then when things are, presumably you're not.
We're actually
saying.
agreeing to do it, but we haven't. But we're leaving it in your hands to figure out the date.
I'll just sit on the floor and I'll take my dog in the field then.
Well, that's right.
Too much information, George.
Take one of them chairs over your
There's me thinking you'd be in the bus shelter
Now,
with the dog.
while we're on this then, which is Coronation Field, we've talked about the fires in College Wood and that. And I don't think there's anything else to say. We've already gone through the police involvement and what have you, and Colin's going to do that later. So you've got what you need to do on that, haven't you? And we'll move on then. We're now talking about considering entering the Village Scarecrow Festival. Position and title. I wasn't quite sure when I looked at Jean Elliott's next door post. Did she mean that they're going to go on footways or footpaths, or is it a choice?
Well, if I read, this is the piece that came with the Pew leaflet. Are you up for a challenge? Scarecrows must be registered at the Rectory before Monday the 23rd with a small donation for the Surgery Fund. Each entrant will be given a number which must be displayed with their scarecrow display along with the title of the scarecrow. So that's my position and title. There are no rules of type of scarecrow, but please keep it tasteful.
That rules a few out.
The scarecrows should be displayed where they can be easily seen without blocking public footpaths.
And that's why I'm saying, does she mean a footpath? As in
She means footways.
Along the road.
So basically, if we were going to have a scarecrow, it would make sense to have it in combination with the village hall, in the sense that we could have it up the front there, on the eaves, out of harm's way. It's just a suggestion.
Is the village hall doing one?
I don't know, we haven't had a meeting recently, so not since this came out. So we can only deal with one thing at a time. We're struggling with Wi-Fi.
Does nobody read their magazine
Yeah.
either?
No.
Yeah.
That was in July and August.
Yeah.
Well, what you say is right, Paul, but the alternative, I mean, if we want an alternative, is of course, but then it could become I'm trying to think of the right metaphor. If you put it in Coronation Field or Memorial Gardens, the opportunity is so it would become a guy instead of a scarecrow.
I was reading that the other day, so that happened somewhere. They'd done it, and the person who didn't win got so annoyed he went to set fire to everyone else's.
Yeah, well, that was hugely intelligent because everyone knew who it was.
Yeah.
So, it's a bit like the rural crime guy showing us photographs of the crooks who raid pheasant farms doing selfies of themselves with the registration plate of their vehicles in the background. You know, they're not blessed with
intelligence.
So, are we going to do this thing?
When you say we, what do you mean?
Well, it'll be Yvonne and Alf as usual. Parish Council.
You can donate the clothes.
He's still wearing them.
He's got a few weeks left.
Yeah. Right.
I think that if Yvonne and Alf could come up with a scarecrow, and my suggestion is we position it out of harm's way on the front of the village hall above the sign to where the film is on next.
Yeah, people know where they are because they're going to get a map off
Yeah,
for the.
but it's out of harm's way there.
Yeah, they do.
Unless the village hall wants to run the one themselves, not the parish council.
Well, I
which
don't
we
know.
think they
Put
ought
two
to run
together.
this night.
I think given the timescales, they might not have a meeting this year that would
This
take
year.
We could have a especially big one representing both.
You could have a scarecrow
I
hanging
would
by
be
a noose
inclined to
saying
have a
to
parish
arsonists.
council one, put it on the village hall with George's approval, and it'll have our number on it, and if he wants to put his own one up, he will also put it on the village hall with his own number.
There we are. That sounds a good compromise.
You know, a pair of them.
Okay.
Okay.
All we need now is to think of the title of it.
Oh goodness.
Oh, not now. We've got too many other things more important.
Punished
I mean, what are scarecrows going to be called?
Yeah.
Theme.
Can I leave that
Jeremy?
with... Well, what can I suggest? If I get together with Alf on this, and then I send it round and say
Yeah,
what
some
the council...
ideas.
I'm sure Alf will
Yes.
have a couple.
Alf can
Choice
start with a bit of
ideas.
scouse humour.
Yes.
Right.
If he wants any straw or hay,
Oh,
there's
no,
3
he's older,
great big
isn't he?
black bags in the church for
Oh,
people who want to make
Oh.
scarecrows.
Okay, thank you.
I think you do a scarecrow of someone on a
As long as they
scooter.
don't make a mess on the floor with it.
Good idea.
Have a scarecrow of someone on a scooter. We know who
Well,
you are.
There is an idea, but I mean, obviously, it's best if it was...
Done quietly.
Yes.
All right.
Okay.
So it didn't need to be down here.
Mum's
then.
Yes, it really
Yeah.
doesn't
Right. Councillor Venning is now going to regale us with Recycle Week.
I'm not sure how this got here.
Well, you
It was
suggested
based,
it.
no,
You
hang on,
see,
let
so-
me go again. You sent out, right, let's rewind. You sent out a notification that, was it Ashford or KCC, or nationally, was
Yeah, it was
the
this-
Recycle Week, 23rd to 29th. We have in the past done some great work that Councillor Green started off, and I think you carried on in terms of rubbish and recycling.
That's right.
The local Biffa and the boys had put out notifications with KCC or Ashford actually about the problem with people putting the wrong stuff in.
Yes,
They're
that's
going
right.
to penalise people, they're going to inspect bins, and then you have a sticker saying your bin isn't, etc., etc. So I just thought to myself, do we do anything as a parish council that just promotes Recycle Week? And the other thing I found the other day is that, unbeknownst to me, they seem to have dropped the small electrical recycling service.
So they didn't take mine.
Because I had in a plastic bag put out the batteries and bits and pieces,
So yeah,
and they left it, and I thought, I've got the wrong week, so I put it out the next week.
no, it goes with a black bin.
And
Mine didn't go
it
yesterday.
didn't go either. Yeah.
So have you found out that
No,
they
I
dropped it, or you
don't
just
know.
think that they've
I
done-
asked our borough councillor, the font of all knowledge, and that particular font was empty when I asked him. He didn't know either.
Throw it all in the black bin.
Oh,
Well,
meaning-
this is the problem. So the key thing, but coming back to this,
Yeah,
is
yeah.
that Recycle Week, you know, at the very least, we could put something out on next door,
That's
just
about all we can do,
reminding.
isn't it?
But Ashford did put out a note to everybody saying, you know, start behaving. And there are actually, there's been quite a lot on the press of certain borough councils and district councils where people separate everything out, and then when it gets to the yard, it's all bunged in together again. You know, and so at least, I don't know if the school are doing anything about Recycling Week or something. It's something, a topic that primary schools often get engaged with. But at the very least, I would suggest that we remind people, and maybe there's something from Ashford that we can come up with, like a sort of the 5 points to recycle.
Well, we haven't got an outlook between now and
No,
then.
but
that's
I
the
think
problem.
on next door and
That's
the
about
website.
it, really. Yeah, that's all we can do.
I think to reiterate the 5 points is a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all forget.
The 5 points.
Well, you know, the
The
Oh, you
bit that Ashford
you mean
put out.
reduce, reuse?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
yes, but
Recycle.
also the actual what you should be recycling and what you shouldn't.
No,
It's like reminder, National Recycle Week is the 23rd to 29th. Make sure you separate stuff out, and you know, here are the 5 points to remember.
I'm asking what the 5 points to remember are.
Well, I don't
Well,
know.
can
but
somebody-
they came
The thing is, I
let-
don't
let-
see any of this. Being where I am, I haven't seen all this. I know,
No.
know that it's been going on, but I haven't actually seen
Right.
anything. So if anybody you talk about next door, would you like to put it on board? Have you got the information?
We were sent stuff by Ashford.
Yeah,
It was
I haven't
Ashford,
seen,
wasn't
you
it?
see.
Rather than, you know, that's how. I'm trying to think how I found out about it.
Right.
Because I responded to you.
Well, this is, yes,
It must
this
have been
is
from
one
you.
thing. Yeah, this is what
Can you
came
just
out.
remind me what you sent me?
But
Did
that's
you
not...
post it, Ron?
Pardon?
Didn't you?
Yes,
post?
yeah, forward it to everybody.
There we go. Your free recycle week assets there. Download them now. So therefore, you've got posters, you've got a toolkit. I forgot about this. Here are the 2 assets to use. In addition to all your activity, blah blah blah. Home advertising campaign across the country, etc., etc., etc. Great opportunity to generate local PR for you in town halls, village halls, cathedrals, and iconic monuments are all up for grabs. I don't understand what that means actually, but so basically, it's embargoed for use until Monday the 23rd of September. So I think what we do is we get ourselves ready, pull down one of the posters. I think that's got a checklist probably on it, and then we publish that on the 23rd of September, saying support, etc., etc. So we've got the tools here. We're not going to be able to do all of it, and whether or not
Yvonne will be on holiday by
So
then.
I'm away from Friday until the following Friday.
Okay. Well, according to this, you can download them now. Right. So we'll look at pull up banners, media posts.
I'm quite happy to have a look online. And then
Yeah.
some people
Let's have a look. And even if you have a post,
I'm quite famous on Nextdoor.
You are.
Infamous.
Yeah, you are a little bit, aren't you?
You're the only person who generated a good joke. Right. Okay, thank you, Paul.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We now have to consider advertising the mobile library more widely. I think that's one Sue could take on in Outlook.
Well, we tried that, but the difficult
Yes,
thing
can I-
is
can I
nobody
just-
can work out the week.
Can I just say, I had a visit
Not very
at my
helpful.
parish desk from
Mm.
a certain Mavis
Yes.
King, who
Which
is
is just what we
really,
had.
she's really concerned.
Yeah.
You have to have at least five
Yeah.
people,
Visit.
and there's only 5 on the list, so only needs somebody to drop out. We've got a problem, it won't be stopping in the village. But as she has
Well, I'm
pointed
very
out,
happy to go there if I know when it's around.
she has pointed out, it's every other week.
Yeah.
It's in the Outlook, which says every other week, but nobody knows.
No, that's the problem.
When
Which week
every
it is.
other
It's
week.
only if you go up and
However,
see the van there.
Where does it
And
stop
where
now?
did I was going
Yeah,
to say?
It's
We
at
could
the
do with
Swan.
the
It used to be
calendar,
here at the
really.
Swan.
Used to be here.
However, I've been on online, and
Oh.
it gives you we are the red one.
Oh, right.
So what I was going to suggest was that I do this, laminate it and put it on the notice boards.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
we've got it, and then put it in the probably next door or somehow,
Hmm.
or even if it was added to Jeremy's report.
Hmm.
Remember, it's library week on the and whenever. But this only goes up to October anyway. But
What I suggested
It would work on
what I
next
suggested
door,
to
wouldn't it?
Yvonne, what I suggested to Yvonne is that providing we don't have a particular glitch that I'll come back to, the every other week is either black bin week or it's green bin week, and people do know which bin is which generally. They look at their neighbours anyway. The only possible glitch is that I'm not sure if all of Wittersham is on the same cycle.
Mm.
What I've not quite worked out, I did look one time and it looked as though all of Ashford works on the same cycle, but that seemed to me to be slightly odd because I figured they had half of the lorries going around doing black and the other half doing green, and then they
Well, I
swapped
think
over.
Wittersham, I think the village is on the same
Same
side.
thing.
Same.
You were confident they were the same?
Yeah.
Okay, well in that case,
Oh, that's
if
When it's black bin
Yvonne,
week, it's library
if
week.
Yvonne tells me
Well,
which
it
day
comes
the
just
library
to us, doesn't go
is,
to the rest
I
of
can tell her whether it's a black bin week or a green bin week, and then that will always hold true because the bins rotate without any question.
So what we really need in Outlook is a
No, it's
is a
bank
kind of
holiday.
use it or lose it note, isn't it?
Mm.
And so when you say there's only 5, you have to register
yes,
with it.
yes.
Yes.
If you've got a KCC library card from other libraries, right? Can you use that then?
I would think so, but then you need to be sort of on the library van, probably the library van knows.
So if you've got one that, for example, the Tenterden Library,
Yeah,
if you've got a library card there, is that valid or is it not valid
I
on
will
the
see
mobile
what I can
library?
find out.
Yeah, because the people might not know that and what have you.
Which, give me a date in September.
20. Oh, hang on.
Red line.
And also the other thing, Yvonne, is if you want to use it, how do you register? You have to wait till it arrives, maybe,
Yes, I
and
would
then
think.
register, what have you.
Maybe
Unless
so.
they accept KCC library
Right,
cards.
the date in September, the 11th.
Well,
That's
the 11th
tomorrow.
Yeah.
is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
It's Black Bin Week. Or indeed Black and Brown, if you want.
Or we.
I know it's a Wednesday. Yeah, well, it's
Yeah.
the same week as your Black and Brown bin.
Yeah.
I know that people will find this very difficult, but it really is fairly simple.
I don't know.
Well, how else are you going to do it? If you just say every other week, everyone will say, where the
You can say when it's a green bin week, the library's not there.
But if it's the Black Bin Week, then it's the
It's a very
Wednesday
good
when
idea.
you've done your Black Bin.
It's a very good idea.
I think
I
brown
realise
bins
I'm
are
an
red
engineer
herring.
and therefore more logical than most people in this country, but it really is simple.
Okay.
Unless you're colourblind.
It's just the connection
No,
between
then you
bins and
wouldn't know where
books.
the red stripe was,
Bins and books.
and you put the wrong bin
What's
out.
the red stripe for? That's
It's
to
all-
show which is ours.
That's the red one.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
red
We're the
one.
see.
red
Yes.
week.
With
Which
the red
is-
on.
She did it
Black
straight.
bin, red week.
She explained that, you just have to listen.
So if we
Does-
start
does
from
it have-
tomorrow, we know it's here tomorrow, it's every other week after
Yeah.
that.
Does it have
Yeah,
the
but you will get it
time?
out.
Yes, well, I would put it on. It's
That's fine.
9:30 to 10:15.
Yeah, I know it.
Oh, I
And
see,
that's
it's
in
quite
Outlook, but it
specific.
just then says which week. Because of course it could be the first and the
Yeah.
third, or the second
Oh.
and the fourth.
Yeah, but it's not. It's every other.
I know, that's why I
That's why it
said.
changes.
It could be the first and third, or the second and the fourth.
And how does it park at the Swan when the Swan's closed?
And what about the fifth week?
Well, it can at the
Only
moment.
when there is one.
Sorry?
Oh,
It can at the moment.
Oh, okay. Used to park out front here.
It will do when the Swan's open again as well, almost certainly. I very much doubt
If
it
the
will be a
10
problem.
degrees.
Well, they will. Because you're getting people
Jeremy
there,
said
aren't
so.
you? No, they're getting people there, why wouldn't they?
For the moment,
It's not at the height of the evening drinking.
for the moment we know where it is.
Yeah, let's stick with one thing.
When it arrives, you just have to remember.
If the Swan have got their black bins out, the library's
You do what you want to do, and then people can make up what they will.
I think the most important thing is that we do get a note out which reminds people that we have to use it.
I think that's the
Otherwise
main
That's
point.
the message.
Get signed up. Get
And the
signed
other-
up.
and the-
And else you'll lose the
And the
service.
other person who
If you're a
we
stomach.
just want to be mindful of in all of this is Mike Hill.
Yeah.
Because he
Yes,
is
it
a champion
is, yes.
Yes, he
for
is.
all the libraries
Yeah.
in Kent to remain open,
Correct.
unlike
Yeah.
Oxfordshire, which are down to 2 or
Mm.
3.
Yeah.
Correct.
We need to support
Right,
him.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. The request from the Royal British Legion. George will now put his hand over his mouth for funding towards refreshments following the official unveiling of the additional names on the Wall of the Royal on 26th September. A letter has come in.
The
to
branch, says all that James just said,
Yeah.
and the branch are requesting a donation of £100 from the Parish Council towards this, but of course we'll be grateful for any contribution.
This is for the sausage rolls and vol au vents,
Teas and coffees, biscuits.
cheese and coffees.
Is this in the morning?
Yeah, 10:45.
10:45
Following the...
at the memorial.
Yeah, at the
We're
memorial.
going to do the names on the wall memorial, the airship plaque.
Memorial,
We've got bless the walnut tree, look at my bench, have a few words. Kids are going to be involved from the school as well. They're going to do the part of the unveiling.
Yeah.
And then we're going to come back down here, however many people are on, for tea and biscuits basically, and snacky things.
That's a Thursday, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the diary to come.
What time is it?
10:45.
10:45.
Fine.
So it'd be about
As we were involved in the
quarter of an hour
actual
down
names,
here.
So
Well, I would
what sort
hope
of
I can- yeah.
contribution do we want to make?
I'd
I'll ask
like
you
to-
Further requests.
It's one of the few days I am.
Whatever up to
Yeah,
100.
right. Oh, well,
Yeah.
nothing changes
Yeah,
there.
no, no.
Do you expect it to cost you 100?
If it's more than that, the branch will put the money
I think
towards it.
100, I think 100 is what.
I think,
I'll second that.
yes, I support that.
So we do 100.
Yeah.
All right.
If I can speak, I say thank you.
You can't.
That was,
You can still say that.
no,
Straight
Yeah.
up from the minutes.
Right.
you're going to have a good turnout from the British Legion.
Hopefully, yeah.
The next one then is another begging letter, which is this time the Save the Swan campaign. This time you've got to keep quiet, Paul. for funding towards the cost of hiring the village hall for the pop-up pub held in July. Pop-up pub was enormously successful. There has been a note go round. Did you get it?
Yes.
To those who were involved. They were enormously successful. They got really good money in, but we had said that we would help them with payments for a village hall hire. Now, in fact, they didn't use it for their meetings because they've always used a lot of whatever it is, Manor. Not Ashton.
Acton Manor.
Acton Manor. But I think that this is not unreasonable for us to make a contribution.
What was the cost?
They've asked for, it was £200 because they paid by the hour for the, the hours.
I thought we agreed that we were up to 50%
Yes,
previously.
I think last
And I think as an incentive.
If we can afford it, another 100.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, it's not unreasonable because then we're doing the same for both.
I think with anything else they raise at the moment in terms of moving things forward.
Indeed, so are we happy with that?
Yes.
Proposing, seconding.
Yeah.
Colin and Alan. And everyone's happy. Good. They are, I don't know if other people got it, there was no, they wouldn't have done. There was a report of recent developments and they do seem to be making very good progress.
It
They have
should
had
be
the
sent
first.
out to.
Did everyone get it?
Sent out to
Yes.
everyone on email. All the supporters, about 100 people should have got it.
Got it, yes.
No,
it came out this week.
I'm actually thinking, I'm not going to go in all the details of when Alan Collard came to see you, and that was positive as well.
Yeah.
So I think they are making very good progress.
Were there any complaints from local residents about disturbance during the pop-up pub?
None that we were aware of, on the grounds that I think
everyone
was in there.
There were no windows broken, so there was obviously
no apples were thrown.
There was no noise or anything.
There were some positive comments made on Wittersham Live about how well organised it was.
It was good.
And how many people turned up.
Yeah. Good.
Paul, who should I make the check out to?
Good question. You might want to just ping a note to John and ask him that question, because it's all being formed at the moment.
They were still in the
So they won't be desperate for the money at the moment then, because obviously it doesn't get signed tonight and I'm going away.
Yeah, that's fine.
No,
just let John know that.
Ditto for us. I'll let you know.
They were still in the process of opening their bank account when he was talking to me last week.
Okay, so you don't want to go straight.
And unless they've changed their mind, they were going to Metro Bank.
It's so ponderous, whoever you go
Once we know we get
Yeah.
I'll just let you know which account.
Yeah, all right, you can let me know.
All right. Now we've got correspondence requests from Mr. and Mrs. Harmon to remove the apple tree and the walnut tree and consider removing the bus shelter. Now we've sort of parked the question of the bus shelter for more thinking.
We're not going to remove
the apple tree. We're talking about removing the apples, and the walnut tree. That is a problem in the distant future. And you might like to write back to him to tell him that they are our conclusions. We just then have to try and remember to take off the apples, or if we don't take off the apples at the appropriate time, he can take off the apples. As long as he doesn't chop the tree down.
Did someone suggest that Alf might do that?
I think we could also, given the fact they were here, right, say in that letter that we're also pursuing every avenue open to us that would reduce the threat. Because he will show that letter to the other residents.
Yes.
Well, we're not pursuing every avenue because we're not going to demolish
every avenue
buses.
available to us.
Yes.
Well, it will be available to us.
It's what they read into it.
No, in terms of removing.
We're pursuing other avenues.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah. Okay.
Right. Request from Roger Parker for the Parish Council to discuss ways in which to alleviate ennui among the youth of Wittersham. Now, I have had discussions with Roger about this. He and I had the same obvious, fairly obvious suggestion, which isn't quite in our hands at the minute, but I think it could very well be in a not too distant future, which is when, I mean, this is what people have been talking about, who knows quite how it will work. When the Swan reopens, as we trust it will, and they have the restaurant, there has been discussions about whether the restaurant would actually spend a lot of its time as a cafe. And a cafe, of course, particularly if it was doing 1 night a week or 2 nights a week as a sort of a youth congregating coffee bar, it gives them something to hang out in rather than hanging out in the bus shelter.
What happened to the youth club enthusiasts that regaled us not that long ago?
They couldn't get enough people to help.
It's volunteers.
That was,
Adult
that was the
volunteers.
issue.
You
But
can't
then, of
get.
course, it was going to be in the sports club, wasn't it? In the sports club.
Yeah, we offered them here as well. But
Mm.
the issue is as well, the people, they call it a youth club, but actually they'll be under 12s they'll be dealing with, who aren't the issue of people being out late night causing all the problems anyway.
No, but we
Those,
should
that
still,
sort of age
but
group
we should
wouldn't
still
be
be
interested in
socialising
going
the
to,
under 12s as well.
wouldn't be interested in going to a youth club of any sort.
It would still be a good thing if they could do it, and it is a. It
Oh, yeah,
is
I'm
a-
not saying.
it is
Have
a
you any
sh-
idea what
It's a
they
shoe
might
in
be
for the sports
interested
club because the sports club constitution has a
I know.
youth club.
Try. No, but
Not really interested in anything. They're just happy hanging around and being a pest. That's what
Are they
I'd be
interested
doing.
in music?
I
Most
don't know that that's.
young
I mean, it's a
people
long time
are
ago for
very
me, George, but I'm not
interested in
sure
music.
that's really true. I think it's the impetus to get up from hanging around to do something, and then when they do something, they really quite enjoy it. Because there's nothing that bores young people, it seems to me, than just hanging around being bored and saying, what should we do? I don't know. What do you want to do? Oh, I don't know either.
But they don't like being corralled into things, do they? That's
No.
the problem.
No.
I can remember that.
There's not one thing that they would all want to do. That's the other
Mm.
issue. They individually might infuse one to take up water sports or one to take up football or one, you know,
Yeah.
different things. But you wouldn't get them all to do something at the same time generally, unless you're running football teams, of
Well,
course.
football's club, of course.
Yeah,
There's a good football
yeah.
club here. But
And
Aren't
from what I've
most-
seen of
aren't
the
most
people,
young people now hugely interested in music, playing their own music, trying
yeah,
to
but
set
they
up
do that at
bands.
home mostly. Download
Can
stuff
they?
and
I think there are a lot who do, but I think there are a lot who don't.
I just wondered if it was something that if there was an amenity where they could.
yeah, community studio would be something worth looking at. But you need someone to run it then, don't you? And lots of
A
outlay
lot of it does
equipment.
come down to having volunteers who better do
Mm.
that, or indeed if you have someone who wants to come and set up an amenity in the village hall, you need to, you know, we do have a lot of customers to the village hall, most of them during the daytime, aren't they? Who run classes and what have you.
the evenings are also
But-
occupied, aren't they?
Most of them.
Yeah.
Because wasn't John trying to get an evening for the pub
No.
public meeting,
Yes,
and he had to go for Friday because
it's very busy.
But they're all, you know, adults and older, aren't they? Really, that's the thing.
Mm.
Every group that uses this is not
I
exactly.
think going back, I've been clerk for 18 years, so we've, in that time, and Sue will know that we've had various times when the parish council's been asked to be involved in setting up youth clubs, and we've had people coming in from outside. And going back to when Tony Mayer was on the council, and the arrangement with Ashford, and whatever they had a van that came out,
Mm.
was that they had somebody from the parish council there, plus parent volunteers. And it folded. I mean, Tony went there, and Tony was elderly. It was the last thing he should have been doing. He got abuse, and parents didn't want to know that it was somewhere, which I suppose you can understand. They wanted their children to go to get away from parents. They didn't. Kids didn't want their parents there, but they needed adults, and it just doesn't happen.
But the other issue is, I know what you're talking about. So when I worked for the youth service, that was one of the things I used to manage, and it was KCC, although it was based in Ashford, used to come out and took them to all the villages. But that's gone now, and most of the youth clubs from KCC have gone as well. So there's not that infrastructure there that you can do outreach from in the first place. That's the problem. That was the easiest way of doing it. So, and they had all the equipment. Which was
Yes,
the good
exactly.
thing.
They brought stuff
everything
back,
with them, didn't
but
they?
it folded because they couldn't get
local support.
I mean, I was talking to Brian about it, and he said that, I mean, obviously he knows so many people in the music business, and he said he'd be quite happy to talk to a few of them to find out what they thought might interest or generate interest for young people in music. You know, how does a band get started? And even seeing if they might come down, have a chat with these people, or get a group of these young people together and take them up to a studio and talk to somebody.
That's an offer. That's an offer and a half. It's a nice offer.
Just to see if it generates anything, because
I mean, would he be prepared to put something in the outlook, an alternate offering that to a group of young people?
I'm sure he would.
I mean, isn't that something that would work?
Well, as I say, he's very. We decided perhaps maybe first to talk to one or two quite high-profile musicians he knows, who would probably young people would know the names of, and see what they thought about it, and see if there was some sort of initiative that could be set up.
Radical for a moment. What do people think about? It's something that's always thought curious. The fact that Wittersham and Stone are kind of joined at the hip half the time and completely separate the other half the time. Outlook is shared, the History Society is shared, the Royal British Legion is shared, and a lot of the Stone people come here for all sorts of things because we're the bigger village. I don't think we ever do very much in Stone, any of us. Maybe go to the Fete, probably not, you know. And this is the sort of thing, apart from the fact that there is a gap between the two, could easily be either shared or at least find out if Stone have got any ideas that are working.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's a good idea.
The Stone Cricket Club is slightly sniffy about Wittersham.
Well,
they don't like our pitch.
Yeah, I know that they look down on us in various ways, and that's up to them.
The point you're making is, have Stone got the similar sorts of problems, and if so, what are they doing about it?
Or do they have solutions?
Or they have had the solutions
or
already?
If we've both got the problem, should we be starting some sort of sports club, if we can, between us, which might alternate? It might, you've got a share of people volunteering there. They're not as big as us, but they have got.
I think Leslie's idea is a really interesting one. And the music is a really.
But if the music was to be
the other
done,
thing is,
could be open to Stone.
If you look at this issue, isn't just in rural areas, but because you actually get it in inner cities and urban areas, and one of the initiatives there that's worked on not really certainly is the boxing clubs. That's been the absolute. If you look at some of the initiatives that are going on at the moment to reduce knife crime or have you, they're really trying to regenerate some of the boxing clubs, and you do need volunteers or people working there. But I mean, George's point is that KCC, the rest of the country, has completely slashed youth services, and the funding is not there. The funding is there is funding around with a number of number of charities. There's a lot of, if you look at the Rural Services Network bulletin that comes out, there are a number of those. They target specific sectors, if you like. Elderly is a classic one, or disadvantaged people, and they're also young people. There are a number of charities that will support young people initiatives. Garfield Weston's one of them. Plunkett actually also get involved in that area, and Esme Fairburn. Those are some of the big charities that have funds specifically for young people. What you need to have is somebody who's prepared to drive it forward and what have you. And I just get the sense that probably amongst us we haven't got that skill, with the exception of George probably.
There's not much of a catchment there.
Well, I don't know how many. That's a really good question. How many people are we talking about that would fit in? So when Roger, you're talking about the ennui of the youth, is that 10 people? Is that 20? With Stone, is that 100? I mean, I have absolutely no idea what the target. Well, we don't know the target.
It will be some tens.
Yeah.
Some tens.
So lots of them aren't bored. They're quite happy doing what they're doing and doing it at home.
Well,
they've got homework to do.
That's fine. Yeah, I agree. But then also, you don't just want the bored ones coming along, because you want to generate a sense of interest, if you like, and that rubs off.
Go back to our day, or my day, I don't know about the rest of you, there was Scouts, for instance, but Scouts was only one night a week. I mean, we don't have to be occupying every minute of the time that they're not at school. If there is something sometimes, that's why I was saying maybe the coffee idea. Okay, that's not really providing very much except from having somewhere that is warm, dry, and they can chat, and that they're not actually throwing things and they're not getting drunk.
So who's decided that our youth are bored?
The very fact that
what started this?
Okay.
All right.
Okay. No.
One question. What started this was that Roger Parker and Valerie went to the reception at the Oast next to the Ewan Lamb. I was invited to it, but I had guests, so I couldn't go. It was 40th wedding anniversary for the people in the Oast, and they invited a group of people there that they knew, and I was one of them. And after it finished, Roger and Valerie walked out of the Oast to go home, just 75 yards up the road, and there was some youths in the bus shelter. And unlike what we've been hearing earlier, they were just chatting among themselves. They were polite. They said good evening to each of them, you know, and have a good night and all the rest of it, you see. And Roger and Valerie walked up the road and said, isn't that tragic? They are sitting there because they've got nothing to do other than chat to each other. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. And Roger's background, after he left the Navy, he spent 10 years running the Sea Cadets nationally. So he's got a feel for the teenage years. And he just said, this is so sad, we really ought to be doing something. And that's when he got on to Yvonne and myself.
I don't think I just quite like doing that.
Well, maybe
I mean, if they were sitting and chatting, I mean, the art of conversation is, you know, important, and I don't have any problem with that, you know.
But
well, I seem to remember doing that sort of thing,
but
hanging out.
His feeling was that they were sitting there being bored, but I can't really tell you that.
But they weren't causing any trouble. It
Well,
wasn't
they
based
certainly
on the fact they were abusing anybody.
It's
He
the
felt sorry for them, really.
No, the exact opposite. He felt sorry for them.
It's the age-old problem of do you treat the symptoms or the cause?
Yeah.
And that's what we're faced with. And I take his point that there's, I mean, if you look at some of the people that we talked to in the whole sort of initial research around the Swan, people said there's nothing for, with the Swan close, there's nothing for young people. They weren't talking about under 18s.
No.
There's nothing for young people in the village to do, and they're right. There is.
Can I just adjourn the meeting for a moment? Do you have any thoughts on this, Miriam? Because you work with young people in the village a lot. Do you have any thoughts for what ought to be going on here beyond your football? Which is, of course, the big thing that they do have.
Well, I'm sure. I mean, I think the idea of music, I think it'd be quite niche, but I mean, I'm certain that there would be a group of people who would definitely be interested in something like that. But you're not going to reach out to a wide sector, but I think that would be certainly something that would definitely, I know children who would be interested in that. So I think that is a really good idea. But in terms of addressing the fundamental problems that we've got at the moment with antisocial behaviour, I don't think this is honestly going to solve that. I think you just sadly get groups of kids, and whatever you put on for them, they're not going to engage with it. These children are definitely the ones that are in the trouble are not going to engage with this, I can be absolutely certain. So I think that's separate, but that doesn't mean to say we shouldn't be doing something for the other kids. But I think we sometimes read too much into trying to organise kids. I think if kids are sitting in a bus shelter chatting and having a joke and a bit of fun and they're not causing any trouble, I don't think we can assume that they're bored.
No, that's right.
I really don't think the assumption that those kids are bored is the correct one. Just socialising and talking, it's actually quite nice to see kids socialising and talking. They're stuck in their house on their Xbox or their PlayStation. So the fact that they're out sitting there socialising, to me, is a pretty positive thing. If they then start throwing apples through the Ewan Lamb window, that's taking it a step further. And I think that's sometimes when it does go that little bit further than they should, and sometimes they need bringing back. But what we've got at the minute is something fundamentally much worse than that, than kids just being a bit daft. It's a lot of work when you set up stuff. It is a lot of work. You've got a lot of hoops to go through with child protection, and you say starting up the youth club. You've got to all do the safeguarding courses now. I mean, I know running the football club. I mean, there's new things coming through virtually every week. The FA are on you the whole of the time, and you can understand why you can't get volunteers. It's not just a matter of turning up. Any volunteer we have, first of all, they've got to be police checked, then they've got to do safeguarding, they've now all got to be qualified coaches if they're running teams. It's a massive commitment. So I think, you know, we can get these ideas, but delivering on them is often not as easy as you think. So why didn't the youth club happen? Probably because when they realised everything that they needed to do to set that up with children.
Yes, that was the...
That's all the cafe idea, is it?
Can I just ask Miriam, come back to that in a moment, can I just ask, from what you were saying earlier about the fact that this isn't going to deal with the troublemaking children, am I right then to assume, or am I jumping in the wrong direction, that those troublemaking children are also not the ones that are joining in your football teams?
They've been members of our football team. They certainly played football in the past, and maybe that kept them on the straight and narrow for a while. I mean, I think, yeah, it does. You know, we do have some difficult children that we deal with within the football club, and these children have played football. They would now be back into adult football. They wouldn't be playing youth football.
Sure.
And I mean, I'd be happy to see them back. You know, if that did help, but I don't think there's much chance of that. It's just gone too far.
They've just gone in the wrong direction.
Yeah, they've definitely gone in the wrong direction, and I think, sadly, pulling them back now, if it had happened years ago, if there had been more intervention, then perhaps you would have pulled them back, but not anymore.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, Miriam. Thanks for that.
I don't want that to sound negative, I'm just saying the reality of it.
No, I think your knowledge and experience is valuable there, and of course your background as well, originally with children. Okay, let's start our meeting again. You were going to ask first about or comment about the cafe.
Oh, just that, yes, I mean, in the light of the difficulty of doing organised unevenly, how popular that would be, organised youth clubs and that. I just really saying that I think the cafe idea
It would obviously depend on a tenant, but then again, the tenant wants to get footfall, and all these people grow up.
Can I just say that Judy is very interested in doing something quite similar to that when the servery is in the church.
Oh, okay.
Because her background is children anyway.
Of course, yes, sure.
So, I mean, whether it would be every night or once, I've no idea, but she's very interested in that.
Leslie made a suggestion about something that could be done with music. I think we ought to pursue that if you want to carry on with that and find out what the possibilities are. Because even if it's half a dozen children in the village, it gives half a dozen children something to do, doesn't it? It doesn't matter if it's the ones that are throwing apples. Just any kids deserve something to do.
Indeed.
So any ideas welcome, really.
Right.
Okay.
Work on that.
All right. Thank you. That's some points there. Local council survey. This was the last corporate plan of Ashford. They're asking all the parish councils. They sent out this survey. Go on.
Given that, can I just go? You've got the noting on your correspondence.
Yeah.
Just to say that it was to do with the footpath that KCC showed going through.
Which one are we on? Sorry.
We're further up yet. We're on 12E.
You're on 12E?
We're on 12E. You're down on 12G.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
You're doing a Jeremy there.
I am.
Wishful thinking.
No, indeed, you're right, George. Let's get on. 12E then, the local council survey, which is their corporate plan. I think you've all seen that thing that came out. I went through and scribbled on it with my own thoughts, and time is getting on. We need to put something back. Has anyone else? Thank you very much, Miriam. Good night. We need to send something back to Ashford by the 25th of October. And you're going to go on leave by then, aren't you?
25th of October, did you say?
Oh no, of course it's September. Yeah, we've got some time. Well, as I say, I've done some scribbling here, which gives us a start. But other people, I mean, it's a starting point, but other people have different views, and somehow or other, we should be. I think is this actually as councils or councillors, your views?
I think it's the council.
Council,
yeah. What's the name of your local council?
Yeah.
So we need to. We're going to meet tomorrow. We do usually, don't we? I can bring this, and we could. I could use Yvonne's better typing than mine to type some of these out and circulate them,
That's probably a good
so
idea.
that you can
Yeah,
then
that's a good idea.
you can then disagree
As an
with them.
amend.
I mean, they're not by any means what I think we ought to be saying, but I find these surveys very difficult when who you know, no one knows what to, you know, all these sort of free text and what are the three worst this and what are the three worst that, you know, it's very difficult.
I had a look at it and I thought, well, good luck to whoever's got to digest and analyse this.
Jennifer something,
come up
the
with
housing officer.
Yeah, it's highly subjective, and I suspect, I applaud them for doing it. I suspect what will happen is they'll cherry pick, and what'll come out of it will be
what they decided to do.
exactly
What they decided to
So
do.
I think your suggestion of if you wouldn't mind having a first draft of it, and then we can add, amend, adjust accordingly, and get when does it have to be off? By the end of the month?
No,
25th of October.
Well, why don't we? When's our next?
Before that.
Our next meeting's before that. So what we should do is we get from you. We all add our bits in, get them back
next meeting,
and then we ratify it at the next meeting.
Okay, good.
Agreed.
That's fine. So we've achieved what we needed to there. Policy consultation, e-briefing, independent review into local government audit. I asked Yvonne to put this on the agenda because I thought audit, it's the sort of thing that is potentially sensitive. I've actually looked now at this thing that came out today. I don't know if you did. It's way away from any comments I would want to make
Yes.
about audit. I mean, my view is the audit is a complete waste of time and it's making people
Yes.
complacent.
Yeah.
What this is about is people with precepts of £6.5 million. And
I would just
God knows what.
say we've noted it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think we've got a reply.
Well, said we noted the content.
Thank you. Noted it.
Yes. Copy it to Carol. It's just not relevant.
No.
But that's it. I don't think
Put it
it's
through the
too
Plain English
sensitive.
Society.
Put it through what?
Plain English Society.
I was about that.
Obviously not a Burko there. The golden bladder, as he was being referred to in the Times today.
I'm not going, I just need to mobilise slightly.
Normally you do start mobilising.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I-
you start
I-
making
I just-
it.
How many chairs you want, Mark?
Otherwise I'll be fused to the chair. And then
We're now on to the plough, or the plough if it's a boat.
What?
It's just that the council was asked whether they had any comments to make about this public right of way, any evidence. Well, I didn't go to any view. I mean, Sue's the only one that will know any more than I already do because, or perhaps Alan knew more. But we're all about the same sort of time, so I just gave the evidence. I've been walking that for years, and there's no sign
It
of
doesn't move.
anything, any map that we've locally got as well. So they just said it was noted.
Good. Okay. We've got to reimburse the clerk for bin backs and printer cartridges.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yes, that's
Yes.
George and Sue.
We're paying.
Yeah, we've agreed.
Yep, get typing.
Yes, they've all agreed.
Dynamic counselling, yes.
Workshop for.
Yes, I didn't realise it was costing.
I'm just mobilising slightly.
Courses,
No, we'll always do you.
courses.
It's a bit, you're going over time tonight.
Needs
Chairs to
planning,
put
and
away.
they make quite a lot on courses.
Well, I put it to you all then. Is
No,
it
no, that's
worth
fine.
doing? Should
No,
I do it?
I think it's worth doing once.
Yes.
I think it's worth doing.
It's training.
If we're going to have
We
one
have to do
dynamic
training.
councillor,
It won't be
it
me.
should be you.
We have
I think
to do
it's
training.
a
Well,
good
You've
Diane-
idea.
nominated,
Diane's
have you,
already
Paul?
done it.
Haven't done it.
I'm already a dynamic councillor.
Yes. Well, we need one on either side of the room.
I've done it twice, accidentally.
What can I say? I've got to do it, haven't I?
That's straightforward and it's agreed.
Okay.
And can I just, now that Paul's back, you'll be pleased to know, Paul, that I've got an Amazon business account now.
Are you ready for online banking?
No,
Coming around
no.
the track? No, it's happening. The councils, I've read about it.
I know it is, but we haven't
It's
done it.
been, yeah.
The renewal of the Wittersham.org, wittershampc.org, we've got to do, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
years.
The working party reports the caretaker.
Not really much, just
It's a
that
lot.
George had asked about the hedge being cut, and if you've noticed, he's done it today.
Oh, I didn't know. No.
Yeah,
So he's done the grass before that.
Yeah, he's done the grass,
Yeah,
and but
brilliant.
it will all be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The
So it
20
needed to look nice for the.
Yeah, it was already in hand.
Thank
We
you.
discussed
No,
it beforehand.
Finance, are people happy with
Yes.
the transaction statements? We've got one on the back.
Yes, you've
Yeah,
got
we have.
July and August, one on each side, but we've got one each.
Yeah.
And then the caretaker one is being put together.
Mm-hmm.
Is everyone happy with that?
Nothing out of the ordinary that I could see.
Just that I had to refund, when I was asked to refund a grave space, and we refund at the price that it was bought.
Well, they didn't want to be buried there after all, I mean.
Yeah.
Oh.
1984 was
Yeah.
£25.
Oh.
And there's also the balance of lawyer's account,
Yeah.
which has been paid there.
Thank you.
It's from the Kent County Council. What's the funding we get from KCC
Annually.
as part of the council?
8,000 for a caretaker.
No, sorry,
Do we-
for the parish council, towards the parish
We
council.
don't get anything from KCC.
Where do we get it?
Precept comes from Ashford.
From
Ashford,
Ashford,
yes.
yes.
Yes, because that's where you pay your
Yes,
Council
council
tax.
tax.
Yeah.
yes. And how much is that?
You're in the Bible.
£25,005.
Yeah. It's all right. It's just that someone told me. I won't. I mean, we digress, and we've got too much to do.
Okay, I've signed all of them with your approval. Planning. Nothing?
Nothing anymore. We've got.
Well, Yvonne and I have had a brief correspondence about Willow Tree Barn,
Yeah.
and whether now we
Maybe
probably they'll appeal.
Yeah.
But if they don't appeal, it's about the possible realms of enforcement.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Willow Tree Barn being land on the south
South
side.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there seem to be the relatives are obviously there over the weekend. The number of vehicles and
Well, as Yvonne says, I mean, I think they
quite
put
the
their
camp.
mobile home on the basis that they might have to stay overnight to look after unwell stock and that sort of thing.
That you do.
But I mean, that won't change, as you've already said.
That you do. Okay. We've had two decisions, including Paul's neighbour and the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Highways. Now, I thought I'd sent a note out on this and I realised today I haven't, so let me whiz through it. Simon Jones is KCC Director of Highways, Waste and Transportation, big man, officer, runs all that side, new, about 18 months now, a bit less, and he's the one I've spoken to you of before. He fulfilled his promise and came to see me on the 19th of August in Wittersham and spent about 2.5 hours here. I briefed him on the caretaker scheme and how I thought it could do more for KCC. He had immediately some ideas on what we might be able to do, such as mowing all their verges. I said, well, I think that's a bit ambitious. You know, we're talking about a lot of cutting with tractors and things.
Can't
And
do things
big
that
plant.
close to the road.
What?
Can't do things that close to
Well,
the road.
indeed. I said that was too ambitious, but it obviously indicates that he's kind of quite, unless he was just taking the mickey, you know, he was sort of immediately saying, well, what can we do then, you know? I told him that we'd had early discussions about the future at such time as Alf retires, which we have, which a few years away, hopefully yet. We'd contemplated an apprentice, but I discussed the position with Ashford and found that there's no cash available to help with the extra payroll expenses. And indeed, although it's only for training, they didn't have any money from their apprentice levy anyway. They were willing to help us, but not with money. There'd also, as I said to him, big problems with, you know, we've only got one van, so they'd always have to be together and all this sort of thing. So he then came up with a very interesting idea. It's difficult, but very interesting. He said, well, look, first of all, KCC has got loads of youths. We're responsible for them. They're cared for. And we need to find things for them to do. We need to move them on. He said, and I'm director of transportation. He said, I have got vans, loads. The possibility of sending you a youth and a van, assuming they have a driving licence, you know, that sort of thing is possible. You know, why not? You know, we need to, of course, from his point of view, at the top end of KCC policy, they need to be thinking of what can we, why they came in the caretaker scheme. We need to be saying we're doing the Localism Act. Can we have a tick, please? So he comes up with this now. The interesting thing there is, what was Alf doing back in his career, 25 years? Prison officer, taking people out of the prison to do grounds maintenance for the day. Now, I don't know that this is what he wants to do. I haven't asked him. But the fact is that with some potential difficulty, who knows what is possible? And we shouldn't be too negative about it, because you've got, what's the name of the people who mend your shoes and cut the keys?
Timpsons.
Timpsons. I mean, Timpsons, they really
Most
run
of
on
them.
excellent.
I think it's a great idea, and we want 8 of them, and we want them to wear orange suits, and we want them to walk up and down the estate where all the troublemakers are. This is you if you don't mend your ways.
But you can, I mean, this is not prisoners in this case.
No,
this is
foster.
This is
If
foster.
we could send them into the bus shelter.
Only a short step.
So, that, I mean, it may be that this will
Vigilantes.
fall down for all sorts
Yeah.
of reasons. Not least, this is not his division.
But he's actually,
But he's being very
timing
open.
is interesting, because from some work I'm doing in a completely different area, there has been, there is a forum, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's effectively looking at, it's an umbrella group of KCC officers and elected members that look at different services to youth, if you like. And at the one in June, they actually had like a youth council, or there were about 15 of these young people came on, and it was to give ideas of what should be done, what should be available, how they can get involved, and what have you. And one of the number one priorities is, how do you get skills that then can translate into something that employers want? And that's one of the biggest challenges. Because historically, it's, you know, give us your CV. Well, you haven't got your 5 GCSEs or 2 whatever it was these days. But actually, the work experience, and you've also got this shift. I know it's a much higher scale, but level, to the whole T level qualification. So there's a recognition going on, but those that are at the bottom of the pile, you know, it's tough for them to get anything that can translate into something that can be transferable. And I think to get, you know, we pioneered the village caretaker. We could pioneer the village caretaker apprentice scheme.
Indeed. Well, the thing is that we've got a few things all come together. It may be very difficult, but a few things come together. Firstly, Alf is going to retire in a few years. He might retire, of course, earlier than he meant to if he has an injury. We need to have someone ready to take over, whether it's one of these people or not. We also have an opportunity of doing more work if we had more capacity to do it. And while running 2 people costs money, there's no particular reason to think that there's not money available from KCC, because KCC will be spending a bunch of money on these people. I mean, I have, just digressing slightly, years ago, he's been dead for a few years now, but one of my friends who used to work in technical college teaching catering, when he finished doing that, he went off to one of these places that looks after troubled children in Wales, and they had houses with about 3 or 4 people and probably the same number of carers, and a council putting one of those children in there then was £3,000 a week. And so, you know, money is not a problem in that area. But obviously Alf is crucial, and I haven't discussed it with him. But he might be very interested or he might not be. The other thing is, we're not in a very good place. We're right on the edge of Kent, so wherever they are probably not near. But anyway.
Well, we need Simon Jones's fleet of vans, because they couldn't get here on public transport.
No, he did. But I mean, they also don't want to be coming 2 hours each way, have they?
No.
They don't want to be coming from Margate. Anyway, that is one just to you're aware. And obviously there's a degree of support if it was actually able to be knocked into shape. That the difficulties would be considerable, but it may be something in there. I mentioned to him the difficulties we faced getting any sense out of the drainage team. We used to be seeking to respond to various requests from cabinet members. Paul will remember when every year we go to the conference and they'd say, we're really hard up, what can parishes do to help us? And I would go at the drainage people or tell them about drainage and don't want to do it. The female who ran the drainage team, the manager, who visited us in 2018 with Alf and Yvonne and me, she's left the authority, as in pushed, I think. Two next down the line, who I met with Yvonne in 2017, have both been reassigned out of drainage. I mean, I take that.
It's not a real career choice, is it?
I'm sad for the individuals, but on the other hand, I think it shows some sense that we knew it wasn't working. They don't spend a lot on drainage, but they weren't getting anything for their money. They were being taken for a ride by the contractor, from what I could make out. So the new head of drainage, he told me, would be receptive to our thoughts, and I needed still to contact him to set up a meeting. What we talked about, I think before you came on the council, one of the things we talked about, and Yvonne and I had pushed with these guys in 2017, and again with the manager in 2018, we offered to hire in a drain cleaning machine, a lorry, a slush gulper, for a day, which was going to cost us about £900, to go down one of the roads, let's say the street, and just see how many drains we could clear. And just see how we got on and whether they worked afterwards, how many of them have got the lines blocked up or whatever, because we know they're not done. The only thing we said to Kent was that we required them to deal with the cost of the disposal, because that's quite expensive. And they just weren't on for it at all. Well, that's all too difficult. Well, Simon Jones thought that was wonderful. Because the other thing that we'd been saying was, we know your contractor's not doing the job. We have a caretaker that you've paid for, He can go and inspect the drains and tell you which ones need doing, and afterwards tell you whether they did them. No, it's much too complicated, and the contract and this, that and the other. Well, all that's being changed. They are now pre-inspecting, doing the ones they need to, not the ones they don't need to, but they're doing it with their own people. Well, of course, we've got somebody here. He doesn't have to come over from Maidstone or Ashford. So I think the makings are there that we can maybe get some progress on drains now. Meanwhile, Yvonne knows that they have been out doing some drains lately in the street, and they appear to have been jetting lines. Now, okay, let me jump ahead. We went out, having talked about all of that, we went out for an inspection. I'll come back to drains. He saw the patch pothole at Swan Cottages. Most of you will be familiar with it. They came and did one nice patch, but left the others next to it, which is what he had told us he was changing. So he had a look at that and he swore under his breath. That was then done within a week or two, and it's been done pretty nicely. We went down to the ones right down Swan Street that were on the BBC News a few weeks ago with David Hall. If you saw it, he was cross about them because he reckoned they were really, really bad and dangerous. You know, they'd bring cyclists off their bikes. And what annoyed him was that they'd been marked for doing, but they hadn't been done. And he said that the man who sprayed them, the highways steward presumably, who sprayed them for fixing, they all have a bag of sort of ready mix in the van, and they're supposed to do a temporary mend on any really bad ones while they're there, and they should never have left them because it was too bad. Well, they were done within a couple of days afterwards. I don't know if temporary or permanent, but they were certainly done. We looked at dozens of drains, many of which were clearly blocked. I mean, it didn't surprise him, but he could see it. And as I said, there does seem to be some work being done there on them. I don't know if that's because of him or not. I suspect it is. Told him about the problems we had with SIDS, where it was he's got this phrase that he's used before. He wants to put the pounds in the ground. As far as he's concerned, if the SIDS had been agreed, then we got the money, they should have just done it. No messing. He thinks it's the road safety team that were messing about. I also pointed out to him, Sue, that we'd have this grief in Swan Street where they wouldn't be able to put one in. Having decided it wasn't their land, we said, well, you know, we'll try and get the permission from the landowner. Well, you can't do it anyway. He found that ridiculous. You know, you can't have it both ways. I think he went away just, you know, not convinced, what's the word? Confirmed in his view that, you know, it's just the bureaucracy is messing about. If we could go, so I think what's going to happen, Sue's got, Yvonne's got the thing going ahead, Sue. Once all that's done, we'll come back to seeing if we can get the last poll and push that through, but we don't want to hold the whole thing up for it. If we can get one of the landowners to agree that it can go outside on their bit of grass, which is like our bit outside the... talked about that. This idea about highways plans, we've got to think about that, I reckon. It's only fair to support him. He wants parishes to have highway plans. My immediate reaction was, well, I don't think we need one. You know, we're not looking for chicanes and things or whatever and speed humps.
I still think we should have some.
But actually, if we can think of things, we should have a highway plan. And, you know, that's the way he wants to manage it. His idea is that if we come up with a plan and agree it with them, they're not necessarily agreeing to do it all straight away, but it's on their list and they can phase it in.
The seats would have been in the highway plan, wouldn't it, I guess?
Yeah,
No.
it would.
Yeah.
And then there's the, you know, we know about the speed limit, but we can maybe think of other things. So there's not been, he's talked about it a couple of times. No one's, well actually there was a template came out once, wasn't there? I've seen a template, sort of a spreadsheet with 3 columns, I think. Maybe it was in the presentation, did it count? I've seen it somewhere. Anyway, that's something we're going to have to start, I think, working through. Okay, that's the meeting with Simon Jones. Pro.
I received a complaint tonight from David Chesson as to the state of the High Road Landscape Trail along the gill between the river and the orchard. So I'll check that out.
Right. Open spaces?
There is another issue. The problem is the Environment Agency has installed a new, you may have seen it on the left as you go towards Rotherham, there's a brand new aluminium gate. It's a farm gate and then a pedestrian gate, all in one unit.
Oh, I've seen those, yeah.
And it's a bridleway, so you're supposed to be able to take, I know anybody who does these days, but you're supposed to be able to take your horse down there because it's a bridleway.
Yeah.
And the, I don't know if you can imagine this, so that's the farm gate. And then the next, the wicket gate or the pedestrian gate's there, and it's got a bar that far off the ground. Unless you're a very skilled horse person, you can't reach. You're now actually obstructed from using it.
So it's a gate with a semi-stile.
It's only that high off the ground, but if you were an inexperienced horse person, you would have a problem. So they've actually prevented people being able to ride along there because the farm gate has got a padlock on it.
How do you open the pedestrian gate if you're not on a horse? Just out of interest.
You would have to get off now to open the gate.
Yeah, but are you saying it's just that you have to bend right down?
That sort of thing.
Exactly that sort of thing. Yes. And you can see under the pedestrian gate there's a bar which is
like a sill underneath it.
Which you and you.
This is actually in Gloucestershire.
Yeah, well that's exactly the sort of thing.
How high is it?
It's about that high off the ground.
Even if you're pedestrian,
so you
you don't really want to be
Well, no, I
that.
mean I can manage it, but if I was, or put it like this, if I was in a mobility school,
you wouldn't be able to get there.
Previously you could do it, and you can't now.
So does anyone know what the point of it is?
Well, it's a new.
Yes, is it on a public right of way? I mean, that was across the bit, that was a.
No, but I mean, why?
Why have they suddenly done
Why
that?
have they changed it? What's the purpose of the design?
I mean, it only appeared this last week.
I imagine the sill is to hold the extra post so you don't have to bury
No,
it.
it's not a load-bearing piece of kit, that sill. It looks like it's designed to make sure that the stock doesn't shuffle under the gate.
Well,
but in which case, you have a bigger gate.
I spoke to Margaret Rye, who's the farmer's wife.
Yeah.
And she said, she didn't think it was a good idea. So I know that she's, sadly, John Rye's terminally ill in hospital, so she's rather on the edge of running the
Dates
farm.
aren't priority.
But I mean, it hasn't appealed to her, and it's clearly the wrong thing for the bridal way. So I wonder if a letter to them is appropriate. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, well, certainly.
Because
Well, actually, I go to public
motorway.
yes.
it seems a pity because it's a lovely new gate otherwise,
Right.
but it's not the right one.
No.
Suitable gate.
Okay. Thank you. Open spaces.
As I
Nothing
mentioned,
to report.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
as I mentioned, the Fresh Air Fitness had to come out to the one of the pieces of equipment.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately, we're out of guarantee on it, and I thought they were coming tomorrow, but they contacted Alf. So I've actually got an invoice for £354, I'm afraid, to do that.
For, is it worn out?
No,
Okay,
they had to
yes.
replace the
Lots of
base.
people.
It was loose on the ground.
Rocking.
What is?
Yeah,
I think what's happened is the clay's all shrunk as
Yeah.
well with the such dry weather we had, and then that's made everything loose, and then it gets looser.
Oh.
Okay, but anyway, you're going to have to pay that.
Yeah.
Cemetery and churchyard?
Yes,
Yeah.
I've just...
It's click and dig again.
Have you had something?
Sorry?
Have you had something?
Ted.
Peg and dig.
It's brother Doug.
You know, two rounds of tours, please.
I've had a complaint about the alder tree that's in the churchyard.
Is that older
It's
or
birds.
Older.
It's basically it appears to be dead if you can see all the branches off, but it's covered in ivy.
Ivy.
It certainly is.
And
An ivy
it's
tree.
leaning over towards
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
Guardian's
saying.
house. Now, last year I did think about going to Ashford and getting because we don't get planning permission to have work done on it. It needs to come out really. So if you're happy that I
At your age, too.
Because otherwise at some point it's going to fall down, isn't
Yes.
it? The weight
Yeah,
being
that
already
one.
on it.
Yeah.
impersonating the tree?
Yeah.
Well, of course, falling down is cheaper
Gosh,
than
it's
nothing.
leaning over the house, isn't it?
but if
Yeah.
it
Might
That's
take
it
some
lands on the
area.
house, which is the way it's going.
Whose liability is it?
Church.
It's the churchyard.
It's a
It's
dance.
maintenance, yeah.
It's us.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think we better crack
No,
on
no.
and
Yeah.
get it
Wow,
removed.
yeah.
because
Yeah.
If it's
Yeah,
dead,
you were
So that means I'll have to get a
do
quote.
we need
I'll
our
get it
tree
down.
warden to
I
certify
have
Yeah.
asked him this
Okay.
morning.
Opening. Yeah.
it?
But I
So-
will need to get a quote on having it.
So, yes, taken down.
Yeah.
Mm.
And does the root need to be then dug up?
Stuck around at least.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have to get approved
We
information?
should make a big
Yes.
table out of it. There should be a meeting
Yeah, that's what I
point
was thinking.
for the annual.
Okay, let's move on. We're all agreed with that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Village Hall Management Committee, George, no meeting.
Nothing to report.
Okay, we know about the dates. Items for information, the count is very quick. Well, it wasn't for me. The Executive Committee of Calc, it was going to be when I was in France, but unfortunately they didn't have a quorum, so
Yeah, mate.
I had to go when I came back. That's the papers for it, 4 times a year. Next one's
good.
coming up in a couple of weeks. Just a few things to say to keep you up to speed. Calc want the PC meeting dates to pass on to the police. That is apparently not because of riots, but because they want to be able to attend them. All councillors should call, now this affects all of you if you haven't done it, all councillors should be calling Laura to get a username and a password for the Calc website. They are very anxious that everyone's registered to be able to look on the Calc website.
That's an option rather than
Well, they're very keen to get it all done.
Yeah.
And is Laura a person or a
Laura,
Check line.
you must have met her. You've met Laura at training courses, no doubt.
She knows you,
I
Paul.
think George is right. It's Laura the chat line.
Count, come on, you all want to go home. Count are taking on a new member of staff to support members better, although it then seemed to be for them to chase us better, and I did point out to them that actually they're there to support us, not the other way about. It means that the subs are going to go up if they're passed at the AGM. The chairman of the area committee, which of course is me now, apparently is entitled to one free training session a year. We never knew that before. The budget was agreed. if you come to the AGM, George, Tracy Crouch MP and the ambulance service are going to give presentations.
Brilliant.
As long as you get in before October the 31st.
Yeah. There's a partnership working group which has been giving you terms of reference. I didn't know there was one. The interesting thing is there's never been any suggestion that Wittersham should be involved in it. Parishes should have a business continuity plan, e.g. if the clerk goes sick or if the PC is affected by Brexit. Well, we haven't, and I dare say we won't, although there are some things we ought to do which we haven't, like knowing what the password is to your computer and having a spare key to your front door and things. Because it's really difficult. I mean, it's all very well that they think about these things. We have no parish office, we don't have 2 staff. You know, it's very difficult. And KCC is pulling the plug on parish websites next year.
Yeah,
So the fact that we've moved off already is quite handy. I sent you a note on the meeting with the police, so I don't need to go through that. But
How do we contact them? How do we contact them?
well, if you look on the CALC website without going into the members bit, then the phone number's there. If you ring, she's usually the one.
That's for Laura.
So she gives you a
Laura,
password
yes,
and
yes.
then
She agrees a username with you, and then you log in on that username. Oh, she gives you a temporary password, and then you go in and change the password. This is something the police were putting out, by the way, which is all the. I don't know if you want that.
Yes.
You go to the.
is that on our website?
No.
We should
It
be on there.
may be on theirs.
It's
on theirs,
on our
isn't it?
website, isn't it?
Well, it's actually sent to paper, isn't it?
Can we scan it?
That's the quickest on record.
I don't think you'll be able to read it anyway.
Or even link through.
Right, last thing just to mention, but I know we'll close the meeting and then, unless anyone's, sorry, has anyone else got other things for information?
No.
Okay.
No.
No.
Okay, if we close the meeting,